do have an intro for the show.
AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions.
And welcome everybody. So Tony's joining me here. We're getting ready to go on air, and I was just sitting here sob storying about what happened at the NRA, or what didn't happen at the NRA. Am I frozen? Are we here?
No, I'm hearing you. Everything's good. Okay.
The screen looks like my dog's wagging his tail, and I'm not seeing that happen on my screen, so something's going on. But anyway, I figured instead of just chewing on Tony's ear, I would go live here, or we would go live here, and let me see if I can't kill my camera and turn it back on. Maybe that'll do it. No, I'll just leave the camera off. Maybe we don't even have to say anything else. I don't know. We don't have to make the show about the NRA show. This show about the NRA show. Let's make it about train and learn. Do you need anything for training? Oh, first off, I guess let's say hey to everybody. Thanks for joining us. Tony's joining us as usual. You've got, I think train and learn is the next thing you got going on, right?
Yeah, train and learn is pretty much a leave this week for train and learn. So it's hotel, car, gas, and then swoop. Hit train and learn. Hit Georgia Thursday. Get down there maybe Wednesday.
To go, or are you renting?
I'm renting.
Okay, that's always good. I mean, I don't like renting personally, but on the other hand, I totally get renting. I did it for so many years because you don't got to worry about nothing. If something happens, you make a phone call. You're delayed a couple of hours while they drag you in a car, and you're on your way. Worst case scenario.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, my car has miles on it. It has whatever, because Volvo. What the Volvo, I think, means, what is it, Swedish? I think in Swedish it means nickel and dime you to death, because that's what the sucker does. So, yeah, go down. Right now, I have different firearms around the room because of what I want to take with me, because we do have, firearms-related classes. We're probably going to have rifle and pistol because we've had that. I think we did 2 and 2 before. 2 rifle, 2 pistol. One of the rifle is night shoot, so that's going to be done. They've done it low light. Now they're doing it night vision. So that's the pew pew part, and the classroom part is going to be it's always awesome. I mean, the worst part for me is not having something to record all the information we're given. I think
I got a digital recorder I could have sent you, but yeah, I guess you can do it on the phone too, I suppose.
I mean, I have some stuff, but like, it's the information is there for you to take, and some of it's like drinking from a fire hose when you go there talking about marketing, starting your own business, how to do things. I did my little thing on advocacy in 2021, and just trying to change things up. He changes speakers every year. He changes things. And I think that's really important, because if you go multiple years, you're not hearing the same old, or even from the same people. And as it becomes more well known, I think we'll just get more and more people in there. So train and learn, I think, is an experience. And if you're in any way a content creator or an activist or an advocate, because it's limited to 60 people over a 4-day weekend, it is your ability to network and get started and grow your circle around the country. I mean, almost at this point, I don't know if there's a state you can name that I don't know someone in that I can make a phone call, and it's because of actually going to things, meeting people, and being part of things. And Train and Learn is actually set up to be that networking hub that you can meet others for. And I think I can't overstress how important that is. And to me, that becomes something that you try to take to other classes and other events. So I took that train and learn. Listen, we're going to talk to each other. We're going to connect with each other. We're going to stay in touch with each other after this event, not only because I like you, but because it could be advantageous for us both in the future. So that's what I tried to do when I went to the Ambassador Academy. So I still tag these guys in like memes and stuff online and say happy birthday to them and follow each other and congratulate each other just so we can at least stay familiar that yes, we met at Ambassador Academy, but it didn't stop when we got on a plane and left Orlando. And that's because of what I learned at Training Line. It's like, no, you don't let those opportunities slip past. And as you know, because you've taken classes with people that you've never seen again or spoke to again after that class. And it doesn't have to be that way because I think we're the assets as people. The people are the assets. And I think that's what a lot of content creators miss out on, especially when they're new. Oh, well, I want to do reviews on gear. Then go to Train and Learn, where you meet, the people from companies, the representatives from different companies. One of the guys I met at Train and Learn worked for a Target company. Now he works for SXS Sites. I lost touch with him after we left Train and Learn because you're not going to stay in contact with everyone. But then I see him at the Great American Outdoor Show. I saw him at SHOT in the basement when he worked for the Target company. And then I hadn't seen him for a minute. And they were like, hey, we're bringing on people from XS Sites. This is who's going to be on. And I was like, holy crap, I know Jeff. So, of course, we had hey, Jeff, what's going on? Da, da, da. Now you have a dude who works for one of the larger site companies that you have a personal relationship with, you've hung out with, you've broken bread with, you smoke cigars with. So when you ask him for something and you've shown that you actually do work, there's no doubt in his mind, hey, I know this person. I'll take a chance on him. Here's some gear to check out that we make. That's how you do stuff. Cold calls is one way, and I did that for years. But once you start going to events and people know you and people have seen that you actually do work, that's how it goes. So that's why I try to tell people go to Training Line, go to the NRA show, go to whatever near you. What? Gun Con, Trigger Con, Donkey Con, whatever. Go to whatever trade show is near you. Let yourself be seen. Take pictures, tag people. It's all part of what I picked up at Training Line. And so that's one of the things when I try to sell Train and Learn to people, I'm like, dude, it's more than just a class. If you make it more than just a class. But like most things is you get out of it what you put into it.
Well,
Sure.
all right, I'm gonna interrupt you now because I've been
Mhm.
making notes because I want to interrupt your riff. But I
Sure.
think that I just wanted to interrupt right on that last point because I know KD built the thing to be different. So I think I was going to say, and I'm trying to figure out how to say it, but we're both old, so we can remember before this internet happened. First, the internet had to happen, and then we figured out how to use the internet, right? And one of the ways that we use this interconnection, this network, or whatever, this internet, is we have way more. What's the word? Like we have ability to meet and form relationships with people from everywhere, like literally, right? Like over generations, over distance, over areas of interest, like whatever that the thing is that we're talking about. In this case, we're talking about Second Amendment folks and gun related folks, up skills, training and getting like skills development and training for both the media side and the technical side, the firearm side. But I was going to try to say that Katie built this thing. And in other words, you were saying like, hey, everything is what you make of it. But I think it's more than that because the typical class is here's a curriculum. I'm going to present it and you're going to go home. And sometimes there's some wild card in there. Maybe the thing is presented really well. Maybe there's stellar students in the class with you. Maybe there's some other reason that this is interesting, but often the recipe is there's already a curriculum. I'm going to tell it to you somehow, and then you're going to either go home with it or you're going to remember it or you're going to have a book or something, but you're going to go home with it. And then the best thing I can come up with is Masada Ayub, who we don't have to get all into the details, but he does a more elaborate class and tactical response. Both of those instructors, in my experience, have way close to what we're talking about here, but that 2 instances out of hundreds, if not thousands, right? So
Mhm.
few most training is like just I think a develop, and I don't think it's like anyone said, you know what, let's restrict ourselves. It's just that people hadn't thought of it yet until the internet happened. But KD built this thing with the internet in full force, with everyone using it the way we use it today. So he said, why do we have to stay with the old recipe, or with the old, even worse, like the old restrictions that recipe imposes on us without even thinking about it? But one of them is, I don't have to have a curriculum and have to present it to you, and then you have to go home and that's it. And then I have to come up with a different curriculum or another way to sell it to you next year. KD did more of the, let's bring people with skill sets together, have them train and teach each other, train and learn from each other in a,
Mhm.
because, and I don't, I'm putting words in his mouth, but I've talked to him a few times, I think, specifically about this, I guess. So I think I kind of understand his thoughts, and then I'm assuming the process over the years, the development of it, is that he understood that we're better off working together and interconnectedly rather than a bunch of separate entities. And he created this environment where the curriculum and the instruction is all, like you said, kind of based on who shows up and who's involved each year. And I'm sure there's some pattern to that, for, not just completely random, but, or who's available, but like some strategy like that, like you're saying, you kind of developing from low light to more assisted, gear assisted night ops, which are completely different, 100% different, and both interesting, especially for people who are interested in the tactics of it. They're different, but people are interested in the gear, and there's probably just as many of both people, and probably interesting, not very much overlap. You know what I mean? There's people that just like to do stuff and they could care less what they're using to do it, and then there's people that like looking at the stuff that gets used and they never want to do anything with it. But whatever. But you know what I'm saying? Like Katie has some strategy, I think, or some development with it. But I think that the whole thing was built so that, again, you'd all be, and just from I haven't seen actually, I don't think I've seen a stream from it, and I don't know if that's deliberate. I think he's mentioned that. I think I've asked him about that, and he said he didn't want to, sort of the tactical response version of, there's something to be said for spontaneity and, what's the word? Like you have to experience it. Like if you're not, it's experiential. I don't know if that's the right word. Like, but you have to be there to experience it. It's not a recording, because one, the recording's going to be 2D, and unless you're there, you're only going to see it. You're not going to understand, the whatever, the deeper part of it, because you weren't there for the whole weekend to understand some of the inside jokes or whatever, or, the references and things. But, and then I think he also just didn't want to have it be something where people can just watch it and assume that they've been there or something, because again, it's not for presenting curriculum. It's the experience part of it. Anyway, I'm going on and on. I've never been there, but I think I'm on the right track, right? Like that's,
Oh,
like
you're
I said,
nailing it.
because I didn't want to make it seem like it's a typical class, but you students take more out of it. I think it was engineered to be I don't know what to call it, a collaborative effort.
It was 100% engineered. Um, and no, I didn't even, if I made it sound like it was something that I did on my own. No, this was engineered to be like this. And this is what I took away from it, that this is a good thing and we should apply it to everything. That's why I tried to bring what I learned to train and learn. And it's funny because when you're explaining it, when we're talking about it, that's what we tried to do with our classes when we started them in 2012. I just had never seen anything like train and learn and couldn't put a voice. But we wanted to create a community of people that at least can come back and re-reference us and call us. You don't have to go to every class we teach, but if you have questions, you can come to us, and you can go to each other. And that's what kind of fellowship we wanted to develop with training. And training learn, I think, again, was set up so you can have that fellowship. But I've watched over years that some people chose not to develop it. Like they didn't understand, I don't think, what they were missing out on.
Well, that can happen, right? Especially, there's a lot to it, and I'm guessing, like you say, drinking from the fire hose element, just the traveling. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That's a whole other tangent. But one of the gifts you get from being in service, and I'm sure it's different in sports or something. There's something there too. But by moving away from wherever you live and then being thrust into a whole different environment which is unique because it's not like you move from here to there and now you've experienced two different places. You go from whatever you came from to be added to the giant crazy mix. Maj keeps calling it a salad, and I like the salad better than the melting pot, because the melting pot sort of implies all the ingredients are coming together to create a new thing, which I get it, and I know why they used it for that long, but I like the salad better because in a salad typically it's not becoming a soupy mess, right? It's becoming entities that could together give you the zing and the crispiness and the savory or whatever else you're looking for in a salad, right? It's the pieces being individual together that make it a salad. And it happens in a soup too, but the soup implies that there's now another thing. And I don't know that we are necessarily another thing, or we have to be this third thing when we're Americans or when we're United States citizens. But anyhow, but what was I getting at? What did I get off on? Maj just talking about that.
Oh. You're talking about being in the military and when you can put things together.
Yeah. Getting in the military, you're out of your element. You're scared shitless, because there's nobody that goes to the military thinks that isn't scared shitless. I don't care how prepared you are. You're scared shitless when you're going through basic for a while. You might come out of it real quick once you figure out it's a big scam, or it's a big game. But some people don't, some people dig it. But whatever. I'm just saying, like, what happens is everybody gets plucked out, and you're typically pretty young. There's some older guys, but every once in a while everybody's pretty young, and you're all just plucked and then set down in this pile, and you're bonded like more than brothers, right? Like, no matter where you're at. I'm sure even in the Air Force, they all have to have pudding that isn't the right temperature, and that's an ordeal. They all experience that together, right?
Trauma bonding, yeah. Right,
exactly. They all go through the same traumatic stress together. But anyhow, I'm just saying that is something that I appreciate, because, and I've done other things, but that's probably the one thing that so many people have done that people can understand, that gets you out and moving. Like, you don't get to say like, oh, I'm not ready, or like, oh, I didn't have enough shit, or I forgot my thing. Like, you just go do shit. Like, you just have things just happen and things get done. And guess what? You figure out, oh, okay, I didn't need that extra hanger, or like whatever. But anyway, what I was getting at, this whole long-winded thing, is I can't believe, and this started happening to me in 2008, when I started to experience other people go to SHOT Show besides just our crew, because everybody on our crew had our shit together. Like, we went to Vegas all the time just to go drinking when we were kids. Like, we've all been to Vegas before. It was nothing out of our element to go to Vegas. No, it was probably 2009 when we went to Florida. And a couple of times, and then that was the first time we traveled. And I was like, oh, you guys haven't traveled in a plane before? Like, one of our guys hadn't traveled that much. And it wasn't that big a deal, because he's a dude. He like figured it out. And now he's just like everybody. But I noticed over the years that there's people that, because it's anybody can play. Like, you don't have to be this high to ride this ride. Anybody can play, right? People jump on board as grown adults, men and women, fully functional people, but they've just never traveled before, or maybe they've never traveled like for 4 days before. They've only gone on vacation before. They've never done business travel, or maybe they've always done business travel, but it's been in a different way. So anyway, what I was getting at is there's like I don't even know what I was starting with on this now, but I finally figured out what I was trying to get at, is that there's this element of some people are still getting over how to travel versus what to do when they get there. I think that's what I was getting at. And so, you get somebody who's just getting into and then a lot of people don't understand their value in the community. They think that somehow, again, that there's some barrier to entry, or you got to be accepted or something, or that somebody has to let you in or something like this. So I think a lot of people struggle with that. I'm assuming, because I don't care, because I just built shit. I didn't ask anybody, right? So, and I've just been around for a while, so stuff happened around me. It's not like I joined anything. Stuff happened around me. I'm that little house that a bunch of shit grew around, right? But so what, there's people walking into this for the first time, and they feel like they need to be invited in, or they have to ask permission or something, and so there's a little bit of that at different levels for everybody, right? And that's where I think, again, you get people that go to a class, they've got so many other things distracting them or dealing with stuff, that when they go to a class, they're not critical of the curriculum, let alone the presentation, let alone the atmosphere. I don't know what that word would be like, but the
Oh,
relationship with the students and stuff. And that's why it was so refreshing the first time I went to Tech to Response. Luckily, that was in 2004. So it was way at the beginning of me even doing anything online. And like a lot of things, I was over there being a dick, like blah, 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 because you had to be really you had to be abrasive in the beginning of the internet because there was fewer people and they're tech people and they're either weird or they're just a-holes. And then there were just people that wanted, it was the beginning of people being a-holes online. So we got hard to that. And, somebody would come along and be like, blah, blah, blah. I'd be like, yeah, well, prove it. And they'd be like, all right, show up on Wednesday. And then I'd be like, okay, this was a cool class. Like, I'll shut up. This was an amazing class. Like, instead of everybody saying this and that and the other thing, like, this was amazing. And then, Jaeger was a cool dude. He had I might call it a Jeet Kune Do type of mindset. Like, he was outside the box for sure. He did shit. And no matter what the hell, he did stuff. Like, he lived a life in front of everybody the whole like literally the whole fucking time. Nobody can say shit except for bullshit crybaby crap. Like, nobody can say shit like that. He didn't make mistakes and make successes, but his instruction was unique in the fact, I'm not going to get into it, but it was unique to other instruction, and that was separate. And then of course Masada and everybody differently, but everybody understands that Masada was at a different level as well, and that has to do with his ability to take the class beyond just the instruction to the importance of what you retain from the class, like both figuratively and physically, like what you take home from the class is part of the class with Masada and with tactical response. And only classes in my experience, and my experience is from like 2004 to when did I stop taking classes? 16 maybe. So my experience isn't not recent or anything, and certainly not with the new wave of instructors. But back in the day, I had gone to a lot of classes. Go look at afteraction.net, and I have them all listed over there, but it's dozens and dozens. And there was singular classes that would send you home with paperwork, would send you home with curriculum, like, stuff that you could use. And that was Masada Yub and tactical response. A couple of other people started doing it after they went to either tactical response or Masada Yub's classes. Anyway, Tony dropped out there for a second. I was just ranting about that I think one of the reasons, there's lots of reasons I like what KD's doing, but the way he's doing it, what we've been describing, is a big part of it. We need way more of this with the way the tech in our society is moving. We definitely don't need anything doubling down on the old-fashioned way of instruction. I mean, not just the curriculum, but like the way that instruction used to be. Here's what I'm going to tell you, and you have to learn it. I'm going to quiz you on if you know it or not. Move along. Like, we don't have to be limited to that, I guess. All right. That being said, you dropped out, so I'm going to shut up here for a bit and want to hog the show. If I've stepped on anything you were trying to say, or if you had something else, another point or something, because I have like 6 of them.
No.
From before.
Yeah, no. I actually, let's roll on with what you have already.
Okay, so the one thing I was I had to say all that other stuff I just said about how unique in a good way, like a unique, not like, oh, isn't that unique, but like unique, like we need it going in this direction. As far as the train and learn and KD's direction, I'm going to double down on that because, I'm over here, I'm always bitching that I'm poor. I am getting out of that situation because of some projects I've done to make money. And in that realm, or in that effort, I've collaborated, what's the word? Like, I have participated, I guess, in so many trainings and skill buildings, and I have to learn stuff to be able to do things, just like any skill set, you have to go learn it, and then you have to exercise the skills. And in that process, it's not like the olden days where everybody's on their own and maybe you come together once in a while. There's people that have accountability groups, there's strategy groups, there's, I don't know, like, I don't even know how to describe these efforts that people have made. And I'm talking like nothing about guns, just business stuff, just whatever your business is. I'm sure that I can't, there's obviously libraries full of stuff I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, I'm so used to dealing with just the gun stuff, and we're literally not even using any of the collaborative stuff that exists. And it's frustrated me because worked with clients here and there over the years that I've needed to work with things, or I've used things to make it part of the process. Different software or platforms and I guess services that you would join that are online to maybe have shared calendars or shared workshops or something. So I've used some things, and I've always thought, oh man, wouldn't it be nice if the Second Amendment community had something like this, or if one of the organizations provided something like this, like a place where imagine if there was a 2A friendly Facebook-ish system or a Patreon-ish system where people could not just support one another, but they could also do what Train and Learn is what we're talking about, like what Train and Learn kind of offers. So anyway, I guess what I'm getting at is, since I've had to go and learn a new skill set and exercise that skill set with other people who are working together, I've just, my eyes have been open to how well that works and how common that is, because the people that I'm working with for what I'm talking about, let's say we're talking about, how to repair brakes on a car. I find out that, hey, the same people that are repairing brakes on the car might also be doing transmissions, and those people have a whole group where they get together. So it's not like the old days where if you wanted to be a good transmission repairman, you had to know everything about every transmission. That's ridiculous. Now you just have to know how tools work. You have to know some processes, and you have to know how to find information, know your resources. So being in groups with other transmission experts, you don't need to know everything. You'll eventually know a lot, but to get started, you can be at expert level almost, as long as you understand how to, follow through on what the instructions are given to you. So that it just makes it even more, one, frustrating that we don't have that happening at the in the gun, or in this, more specifically, the Second Amendment realm. But then that's why I dig KD's event so much. I don't know if that was as much a question as something else I just wanted to riff about, because I've just recently had so much, like literally financial success by not having to figure everything out by myself, like having other people who are interested in sharing and in, allowing, what's that called? Like evolution of growth for everybody. Like, because we're so many things now, we're not competitors with each other. We're all on the same side. We're all doing different things. It's not like we're all softball teams trying to get the softball trophy or something. Like, we're not even all race car drivers trying to get the same race. We're not in the race with each other. All we are is we're more like, we're a bunch of, I don't know what analogy to use. We're a bunch of things that are all trying to go in the same direction. We're just taking different people. And I don't know why we don't need to work together. I mean, we don't want just one thing like a Borg. I've never said that. But yeah, the fact that we have, well, literally nothing at the national level that brings people together sucks. But that's a whole other thing. So anyway, except for Train and Learn, and it's KD's one person, right? He's got resources he's got, and he deliberately keeps it small so that it can be, I don't want to say intimate, but I'm going to say intimate, whatever that's like a better word that is. So in other words, he wouldn't, I don't think, want to do it for 300 people or 3,000 people or something like what Girl in a Gun is doing.
It would lose what it is. It would lose what it is.
But
I mean, it's yeah, I was about to not spill some tea, but just throw some stuff out there that's human nature. People tend to split off into cliques, like quickly, and it's like, yeah, let's
9mm shooters are a perfect example. Like, you let a couple of them hang out, and boom, now everything's got to be a CZ this or a Springfield that.
Yeah. So so I'll be bringing my 40 to Train and Learn.
I always like to use 9, because then nobody can get mad. The only people who can get mad are 9mm shooters, and they know that they're doing the wrong thing, so they can't get that mad. It's like a smoker. Like, they know they're smoking. Like, you're the one who chose to do it. All right.
So yeah.
Development versus tech. So, dang it, I'm gonna have to remember what that one was, because the next one was the manufacturing, meeting the manufacturers. And again, in order to get out of my financial hole, I've had to do a thing where essentially people are in, kind of like what I think you said it, or maybe I was listening to it in the clip for other shows. But like in the olden days, if you wanted to meet somebody new, you had to go knock on their door or write them a letter or make a phone call. I guess we still have those options, but that was it. That was all you had. And maybe if you were lucky, you knew somebody that knew somebody, so you could, whatever that's called, like get an
introduction. Yeah,
an introduction. But yeah, nowadays, again, that's, I guess, technically it all boils down to just that. But we have so many ways to enhance that. And that's what Train and Learn also does, is offer that opportunity. And again, I've seen that concept now flower financially in so many different ways that it's not, I mean, it's obvious or whatever. I'm speaking obvious things here, but it's just so, I haven't been exposed to how successful that can be, because I do so many gun things, and all I hear about is the people that are bucking the systems or the logarithms, and the relationships, like you say, can get clicky. So somebody is in with this company, well, guess what? They're not going to be with, like, an optic company. You get in with that optic company, guess what? The other optic companies love you? No, unless you're the biggest dude on the block, right? Like, they're all going to be pissed that you're working with optic company ABC over there. They want you to work with them, or now you're not working with them, right? And I'm sure I could probably go on and on. Like, there's probably a whole bunch of places where you work with one and you're drawing a line. I'm only working with this one now. And I'm sure that happens in the rest of the world too. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of frustration there, and a lot of wasted time. Maybe that's the way to say it. Like, you can, I'm not going to say short circuit or shortcut, but you can certainly grease. And once you start getting some introductions, then you can offer introductions to people, from the vice versa. Then that's something that I think can't be overlooked with Train and Learn. If anything like that happens at any of the other events I've attended, it's because somebody was the kind of personality to say, hey, I'm so-and-so, can I help you find anybody? But it was like the individual who had that ambition, and like they're part of their personality or whatever. It was certainly not engineered into the event or anything. Or if it was, it was like oh, we're going to have a Greek drinks, like the Gun Rights Policy Conference. You've been to there on Friday night, they have a drink, like a open bar or whatever it's called. And then on Saturday, they'll have dinner. Well, I guess on Friday they have hors d'oeuvres and drinks. And then on the Saturday, they'll have food and drinks. But essentially, there's alcoholics. Like, there are alcoholics. There's, too many of them, I think, but there are definitely alcoholics. And they will literally just grab booze, go to a corner and start drinking. And then they're useless. Like, they might talk and stuff, but they're not going to remember it the next day. But we do have those folks. Unfortunately, we have them. I'm not here to call them out, but they exist. And then there's the people that, like you say, are cliquey. And whenever they get together in that room full of drinks, all I'm saying is that room full of drinks is not as effective as it could be. Like, it probably was effective at one point, and probably people who like to drink love it. People who are too cheap to buy food, like me, probably dig it. I'm always happy to get some free food, even though I don't eat all of it. But you know what I mean? Like, it's what it is. But that's the only thing we don't have. Nothing like that at SHOT until just recently. I don't want to disregard what they've created at SHOT Show in the last couple of years. Different, again, 60,000 people or whatever it is showing up is a lot different than what KD's got going on there. But anyway, I just wanted to make that point, that, like I say, I've noticed personally that, like, that can be super powerful, not just in theory, but like literally financially effective to have introductions. And what KD's offering there is from both ends. What about if you're a manufacturer trying to find who's a decent person to work with? You could like their video style, you could like their personality, you could like the numbers they give you, but are any of those legit? Like, that person could be a douche when they turn off the camera, and here nor there. But if they find the wrong person and they get on video of being a douche, and then it's like, oh, their persona's gone, and now maybe they just quit. Like, who knows? Like, I'm just picking random shit up here. I'm not really talking about anybody in particular, but that feature or that element of Train and Learn, again, I thought that was worth making a note about. The curriculum, I think I kind of addressed it. And if you want, I was going to ask you, I guess, the curriculum, you kind of addressed that it's different each year, but is there like a curriculum? Did he like give you something that what the classes are going to be, or do you just kind of assume from prior years?
Oh, well, I'm sure that information is online for the alumni and after you sign up, but I don't look at any of it. I walk in every year. Hey, what's going on? It's hilarious too, because it's probably right there for me.
Okay.
Because the guys were like, "Hey, we haven't seen you sign up." I don't care, and not saying I don't care what's there, but I'm looking at it like, regardless of what I read, you know what I mean? I'm gonna walk into this place wide open, ready to catch whatever they throw. So for me, prepping for it makes no difference. Like, they had USCCA there last year, and Mike was there teaching a brand new tourniquet that didn't even come out, that we were learning how to stop the blood flow with. that like ratcheted it into place. Like when you tightened it, because we've taken those stop the bleed class, and you just turn that windlass until whoever you're practicing on screams in pain, or the dummy you're using, the blood stops flowing. But you just keep cranking it. This particular tourniquet, again, it hadn't even come out yet, but you would crank it and you would hear the ratchet sound like when you use a
Oh,
torque,
like a torque wrench.
yeah, torque wrench.
When it bottoms out. Yeah.
Yep, that's when you stop. So there is no, keep cranking down and the guy you're doing it with is screaming his bloody head off. And that was really cool because now I'm like, not only am I here getting this hands on, but I'm getting hands on with a tool that hasn't even come out yet. And that's pretty cool. Then I got to go over and check out what they had over at Bursa, what they were coming out with, even though they didn't tell us they were coming out with 1911s. But looking at what Bursa has, they're coming out with. I got to see what Tactical Response and hung out with those guys. And it's like, I'm chilling. Oh, and Primary Arms, I forgot to, and Brownells. I mean, think about what I'm saying right now. That's two of the biggest names in firearms accessories and actual firearms. If you look at what they sell, why would you pass
not
up?
big, but big and paying attention to, I'm gonna call this macro influencers. That's a cool name instead of just influencers, because that sounds like a girl thing. But people that have a specific audience. We have a group of people who are gun owners who, everybody's going to buy whatever gun they feel like, right? So if I buy a 45 ACP 1911 and then I buy a 38 revolver, I'm probably not going to hang out with people often who shoot some kind of high-powered rifle at distance, right? I might hang out with somebody who collects 1911s. I might hang out with somebody who's CCWs in 1911, because we all know that's a specific person who wants to carry around a single-action semi, right? I'm not saying anything way there. It's just that's a person who has to deal with the persecution of all the little 9mm shooters who go, "You don't have enough capacity. You don't have enough capacity." So, what if you, whatever, so, and so that those people are going to get in their groups. And there's companies that don't pay attention to that, and there's companies that can appreciate that. Instead of telling everybody, "Hey, whenever you want to get any business done, come together under this giant umbrella and everybody bite your tongue and grin and take it," or hey, I don't need to work with just one company. I can work with one company for 100. Well, let's say one company for $5,000, when I could work for 1,000 companies for, or whatever, 100 companies for $500. I don't know if they did the math right there, but you know what I mean. And there's companies that understand that. So that's the thing. I guess I was saying, and not only are these big companies, Brownells and Primary Arms, but they're companies that do understand and work with individuals, essentially macro, or whatever the small word is, content creators, and legitimately, not just like the throw them a bone, like whatever, like they're actually involved. And as much as I don't like Brownells, I'll give them an acknowledgement for that. And I don't know nothing about Primary Arms other than they sponsored NRA media range day, I guess, and it got rained out, so that's got to be financially a kick in the freaking wallet.
I mean, the fact that I go there and I get names and faces that go with people, that we have conversations, that I'm talking to Ken, that I'm talking to Roy, that I'm sending them stuff. We're sending each other cigar pics. We're sending each other, memes. And now, hey, Roy, can you help me out with this? And I still remember the first time that I spoke to Brownells about helping the diversity shootout. And I think I spoke to Roy directly. I got a box that was about 6 feet tall, full of Brownells swag, including, it might have been 20 sets of electronic headphones for hearing protection. Nothing to write off. It was just Tony that does a thing and Brownell supporting Tony doing a thing. That comes from, they see me, they see the work I do online, they see the pictures of it, and they meet other people that know me and have helped me with the work. You can say what you want, but Riding Shotgun with Charlie has been to multiple events of mine and covered them and interviewed me. John Petrolino has been to events and helped out. So I'm just talking about people that, can put your work out on their platform too. And then they know people. So when I talk to guys and ladies about how to start something or why to get, when I stress things like train and learn is small, it's sub $400 to actually get a ticket to the thing. And then of course you got to pay for hotel and getting there, but still $400 is what some people spend on half of what some people spend on a new firearm. It's a case of 9 millimeter, if you can believe it, or a case of 45. And it can get you in this circle. And it's up to you to make something out of it while you're there and after you leave. And I try to stress that. Um, so I didn't go to NRA because I look at train and learn as more important to me, as the second is for everyone. It's more important than NRA. Mainly because I've already been to two NRA type events outside of the politics of the National Rifle Association. I've been to Great American Outdoor Show. I went to SHOT Show. Train and learn is the third on my hit parade for going somewhere that makes sense for an advocate and someone that depends on meeting others, because I plan on taking the second is for everyone across the country. And the more people I know in more states, the more useful it is to me, even if it's nothing but a phone call. GOA has selected me as a speaker for their event coming up in the end of August. It's going to be their very first conference. And I'm going to be not only a speaker, but on the panel. I am going to contact people to see if I could put together a 2A, 4E event before or right after that. So that if I'm in Knoxville, why not use it? Why not host an event while I'm there, while you have all these people there who are also trainers, who can also come in with firearms? Or I'll drive and I'll just bring guns myself. You know what I mean? Guns and ammo myself, and host a 2A, 4E diversity shoot in the Knoxville area in August. How do you meet people? You go to things. So that's what I'm working on. I have big dreams that I have to kick off and get off my ass and do. But I look at it like everyone can have big dreams. You just have to instigate it. Even if you fall short, you've done something. Don't have big dreams and stay at home or afraid or waiting for the invite, like you said, G. No, don't wait for the invite. Create your own opportunity, whatever it is. And this is an opportunity.
You did a bunch of stuff, or you said a bunch of stuff there. I didn't really. I should have made some notes, but I'm just gonna dig into the. Well, let's just go to the. As far as traveling, is there anything you need? Like, are you still wanting?
It's just no. It's just money, travel. Gonna do the hotel. Cash for gas. Same old, same old. Going to put some stuff together. Hopefully I get there and I can establish a relationship. I don't know if Burst is coming again this year, but I hope they are, because I want to get with them. I want to get with as many companies as I have to set up giveaways and raffles to, what do you call that? Get a flow of money going in through raffles, through giveaways, through things like that, so people can go, hey, I know if I donate to Tony's Patreon, GoFundMe, whatever, that there's a pretty good chance I'm going to win something cool. And that, because people want to support you, but if they can win something while they support you, I think it's even better. Especially if they can come in at a certain price level. What I'd hope is, like, if you donate X amount, that you can actually get something every month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not just, there's a chance I might win something. You definitely might get something. And I know somebody that does some monthly stuff, and I think it would be cool for anybody that's Pro 2A to get those things. But I have to talk to them and see if they would, help us out, especially if they can write it off.
Now, you've talked about, we've talked about, I don't know if we've talked about it on air, if you don't have to, if you don't want to, but the doing reviews and stuff as you travel. Restaurants and places and stuff. Are you factoring any of that into this trip at all? Because that's I mean, honestly, that's more lucrative than anything you could do with guns in 2024. You could probably
So,
take the same trip you're going to take and in
mhm.
different circumstances talk about your car and the restaurants and like maybe your camera, your tripod and stuff like that and make fund your trip and make money while you're there, you know. So it's have you I don't know. I know you've
Okay,
talked about
I,
that kind of stuff before.
I took baby steps with that. The first 2 years ago. Anyway, what I was doing was driving across country, and it was the first time I was in a Jeep. I'd rented a Jeep. I didn't even think I'd fit in the Jeep, and it was a Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. So I
Was it,
did
I
kind
think
of,
you mentioned it was a good car, right? Like you did.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the ride. It was quiet enough inside that I was able to actually record my podcast while I was on the trip, and I did like I don't know, 2 3 minute video of the vehicle itself, the walk around. One, I did the walk around and recorded it just because it's a rental car. You know what I mean? So I did the walk around and I took video
Dude,
of it.
that's how I started doing mine because I'm like, exactly. Like when I get the car going to Vegas or whatever, you know, we would
Hmm.
video of it. And I'm like, well, hell, I'm going to make a video. I'm like, why not make a video? Here's the car we got this year. Let people talk about it. We didn't make any money on it, but we just did it. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So my whole thing is do a walk around, be real. That's what people want anyway. They want real. I mean, that's why we reject some people on the internet and we accept others. And it's because that asshole's being fake. So I did the walk around and I talked about what I like because I
I
am
got to
not a
interrupt
car guy.
again. I got to interrupt
Yeah.
again because sometimes it's not that they're being fake. It's just that they're never going to show you the Tesla that they drove there in and the 5-star hotel that they stayed in because you're never
Hmm.
going to watch them again if they, you know what I mean? Like if they just showed you the $500 a night hotel that they can, you know,
Well, that's true too.
paying attention.
Well, my whole it's because I'm Joe Regular dude. I'm doing this off of paycheck and luck and donations that people give to me. So when I did the walk around in Vegas of the porno the porno hotel room I stayed in 2020, um, it was just horrible. But that was what I had. When I do the one in Great American Outdoor Show, that's where I stayed, and people can see that. And I think somebody remarked to me at the video I posted about the Ambassador Academy when I was just exhausted. It was like, man, that came off as real. I was like, because I was real damn tired, bro. But I put the work out there. So when I drive across country, I'm going to stop at the restaurants. I'm going to do the review of it mainly because my memory sucks. So if I do a review, it's posted. I know it was a good restaurant, a bad restaurant, and I keep it moving. So I'm going to have to look and see what's around that area in Georgia. And I'm also going to go through South Carolina on the way back. So I might stop at a few places there. But I know when I'm in Knoxville, I'm stopping at the KFC Museum, which is an hour and a half outside of Knoxville.
Oh, I didn't know about that. I'd almost stop and look at that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
You
So I
I
looked
would
it up.
stop if there isn't a gun museum there. So if I had time, I would totally stop at that. Is actually I should say.
I'm like, it's a KFC museum, bro. It's 90 minutes outside of the venue where they're gonna have the event at. Make one way, make your way there, either going or coming back.
You know the story of Kentucky Fried Chicken guy, Colonel Sanders, I guess.
That he started out cooking like fried foods at gas stations.
Well, the part I like about it, and I think I saw this on like the Foods We Eat or something, you know, like one of those shows. Because I
Hmm.
didn't study it or nothing. I just saw it and I just thought it was cool. And I've heard it a couple times since now that I know about it. But anyway, he's like, he was 50 or something when he started the fried chicken thing. And he got like
Hmm.
199 no's. And that was like the 100th person that was like, okay, you can cook your fried chicken in my gas station or something like that. I don't know the whole story, but it was essentially a story of determination. And the guy, I guess, I don't know what the real impetus was, if he just had nothing to lose or if he was just that adamant that his fried chicken was so good. But I remember that story that he got the 99 no's before he got the 100 yes. Otherwise, if he would have quit at 50, there'd be no Kentucky Fried Chicken. And that's a pretty big entity.
Well, it's funny because I stumbled down one of those social media rabbit holes with someone posting something about KFC. I forgot who it was. Colonel Sanders' like great nephew commented on it, So he's trying to get in on the family business by dressing like the Colonel and going to KFCs and trying to create that whole persona. Hopefully, hoping corporate KFC sees him and gives him a shot on social media or hires him in some way, because you know that the family sold that years ago.
Exactly, but that
And
does
he,
seem like a good strategy.
yeah, so he has the string tie and he wears the either white one or black suit and goes around and does appearances. Even has little, what is that, a soul patch or whatever you call that little tiny beard thing, or Van Dyke. I don't know what you call facial hair. I just grow a beard. So he has that, and I stumbled across it, and then I clicked on his name to find out who he was, and then I saw there was a KFC museum at the original place that started the first restaurant or gas station or whatever it was that sold KFC.
Yeah, that's even cooler
So,
going back to the original place. I like seeing the original place for some reason.
yeah, so they have it set up. I mean, I think they obviously recreated it and made it into a museum, but bring stuff back. They have the kitchens, they have the pressure cookers, they have all that they had at the first ones, or at least representative of how it was set up there. So you can actually check it out. And of course, they got swag there. I'll probably get a coffee cup or something like that because you always use coffee cups. But I want to check it out, and it's on the way. And who knows how you can monetize it? But yeah, you do the car walk around, you talk about the vehicle, you talk about that. And truthfully, even if I just put it on Instagram, people will like it, and it's not a gun. I think my IG is cooked though. I mean, as far as growing it, but Twitter or X or whatever you call it, I still think there's an opportunity there for me to grow. But people look at that differently.
Well, here's
Uh,
the real deal. Since it's Ask Gun Questions, I'll just hit this one because I definitely know how Instagram works better than I did like a year ago because I didn't care a year ago. I was just watching it, just on it for my
mhm,
friends because I care less if I grow on it. I think I'm actually shrinking on it, as people get
mhm.
kicked off, people leave, like I'm losing subscribers. I think I was at 80 at one point. I have no idea what I'm at now. I don't know if it's open right now, but anyway, but like I say, from doing other stuff that has nothing to do with guns, which by the way, everything else on the internet makes money. FYI,
Mhm.
like if you're lacking money, get out of guns. Nothing here makes money. You got to sell your soul to make money over here. You got to not sell your soul. It's a dumb way of saying it. You have to say this optic is better than that one. This rail is better than that one, or something is better than something because you need to sell something, and that's frustrating because you may not feel that way, or you may not feel that way 6 months from now, or
Mhm.
whatever. That's not our only option. There's other options, and I'm not trying to talk shit or nothing. It's just that it's true. There's way more money out there. But um, dang it, you were talking about uh, Kentucky Fried Chicken and
Corn.
that.
Yeah.
Um, oh, well, lost it. I've seen the CNT join.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm over here. Yeah, talking about KFC, talking about stopping on trips. Um, I'm putting together my kit because that's important. What am I going to shoot while I'm out there, and how am I going to carry it, and how I'm going to walk around because I have knee issues right now. I have bone on bone going on in my knees. It's very painful, and my elevator went down at work almost a month ago. So
I guess what
it's just been.
I was
Go
just
ahead,
going
man.
to say that if you're going to be at that KFC museum, that's the place to do a review of like your dash cam or camera or something because that stuff will make money. You can monetize that way easier than you can monetize other stuff. Um, and I
Hmm.
guess I was going to riff on Instagram. So
Oh, go ahead, man.
I was saying, now that I've been doing stuff that's off guns, I've had to pay attention to people who win on Instagram right now. Instagram's certainly alive and kicking. Like it's definitely wailing on guns because it's politically anti-gun, I guess. Well, it's not. It's obviously anti-gun. Or they're seriously in error and no one has called them on it. Like you could say YouTube is anti-gun if you want, but I know people who are working with YouTube, right? We know people literally who are working with YouTube
Hmm.
ultimate level. So YouTube is desperately trying to figure it out, but they have it's a giant entity. Instagram is also big, and I don't want to suggest that they don't also have the same issues, right? Like It's just that there might not be the people we have who have an interest in explaining it to Instagram, or maybe they don't care. Who knows? But that being said, if you're selling mustard or toilet paper rolls, you're going to make money on Instagram. It's super simple. There's quite a few recipes that will create massive growth. Some of them are a little less, what's the word? Like some of them are a little shady. Like you do a part 1 and then you do a part 2 and then you pay for the part 1 or you pay for the part 2 or whatever it is. Like there's some things that you can do that kind of offset where you're paying for something, but you create traffic that's organic. There's some like little tricks you can do, but there's also just real stuff you can do, just knowing how mammals and humans work. And you don't have to necessarily pander, but you can just, if you're trying to sell, like I say, toilet paper tubes or something, it's definitely possible to create a channel, get giant, and then coast or grow from that initial boost that you kind of gimmick your way into. But the number one thing is we get people call it shadow banned or whatever. It's their stupid, what's that called? Where anybody who cares about guns has that little switch
Algorithm?
to Instagram. No, it's like the physical switch that every once in a while people talk about, where it says like, don't show me anything that's controversial. And like by default, they turn that on every so often, or like when somebody's new, or like, randomly, because whenever you see somebody post about that on Instagram specifically, I'm sure it happens on the other platforms, but they'll say, hey, go into your settings and say that you're an adult, essentially, that you don't want the software to limit what I'm seeing. And then it's like, oh, now I see guns again. Because I remember a couple of times I've been like, man, Instagram is showing me just garbage. It's always like just the default stuff, like one of my accounts that isn't logged in, like it's essentially saying, I don't know what to show you. And which is weird, because it used to just show us guns and stuff that we cared about all the time. It was really good at showing us exactly what we liked seeing. And for me, patches, stuff that I liked. But anyway, you go in there and you flip this setting or whatever. That being said, that's the problem, is you can't tell every viewer or potential viewer, hey, make sure that you're flipped so that you're not, I'm not being blocked. But because that's what's the word? Like something is out of our control. It's out of our hands. That's just one of those things. Like, what are we going to do? We can either try to effort to educate or inquire from Instagram once and for all. No one's doing that. Should the national level organizations be involved in this? I don't know. We only have like 5 national level organizations. They bring in tens of millions of dollars. You're telling me together they can't figure out a way to send in some ambassadors over to the 5 social media platforms and figure this shit out? Like, why not? Who's waiting for that introduction or that, authority to do so? But like, that should have been done a long time ago by all these people that are so clever. And I know we have a couple of people that come from Facebook. Like, why couldn't they have taken that challenge and like gathered a bunch of people from our community and walked back over to Facebook and said, hey, let's clean some things up. You've got some fallacies here. But whatever. All I was going to get at is that there are ways to win on Instagram. So especially if you start doing, restaurants and cameras and dash cams, or even the bags and stuff that you carry with you, then you go to Instagram, you create a channel like Tony's review channel or whatever you call it. And honestly, I don't want to make it sound like it's super simple, but it would be super simple for somebody who knew what they were doing, and it's super simple to make a bunch of money just doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's 100% true.
But it does take some effort. So it's not like it's going to pay for your this trip, but I'm just saying, like, definitely incorporate that if you can, because the same way you might incorporate a rifle in or a shotgun into your stuff, like, try to just add it to the pile if you can.
Well, what I did was lay the groundwork. And that's why I keep telling people, you have to lay the foundation. You have to do the work. Excuse me, you don't have to do it. You can set some things up, but you're not gonna have enough followers to qualify for some of the things that people give you money for. You're just not. So if you develop the following already, and it'll open up things for you. And when it opens those things up, and now you're able to get paid, and your followers can fall right in. I pick up new followers almost every time I post to Google Maps. Just boom.
You don't really need followers. You need a number of followers to be in the game, but Nowadays, as long as you're
Okay.
sitting at the table, they're dealing you in.
Oh,
You'll
wow.
make a trickle of money because it's not the followers. Essentially, you're not required to bring the eyeballs. You're gonna, let's say there's a restaurant review on Google.
Mhm.
You're not having to tell people to go to that restaurant, but the
Mm-mm.
people who are going into that restaurant are going to look at your review and go, I care about this review because I care about this restaurant. Does that make sense? Like Google is the one
Okay.
facilitating it. But looking at it from that angle, who cares how big a
Gotcha.
channel you have because you have a review on that restaurant? So strategically, you go into a town and look, I want to eat. I don't care what I'm eating, but I need to eat something, right? So you look on
Yep.
Google Maps and there's 30 reviews of this, 17 reviews of this, and 0 reviews of this. So you go to that one with 0 reviews, and it doesn't matter what your review is. It doesn't matter who you are. You got the only review on that. Now, if you can go in there and because they only got one review, go, hey, I'd like to eat here every time. You know, what if I got free food, or what if I started a thing and I mean, you got potential. And talking about getting in with manufacturers, it's kind of a hard thing to do. Well, how desperate are restaurants to get people in the door, right? How important is it for museums? The KFC museum, honestly, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what if you were, 1 year later, you're Tony, 2A for E, but then you're also TRC, Tony's Review Channel, right?
Mhm.
And just like one of these pizza channels, now those can get, once you start figuring it out, you get in a grind, and you're the kind of person that could figure out how to comfortably have an audience of people watching you go to restaurants and stuff. But once you've got that entourage, I mean, you don't have to be the hugest channel in the world to have one, free food, but two, potentially a person pre-calling and saying, hey, so-and-so's going to be in town and they're choosing which restaurants, can you help them with a hotel or something? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the
Mhm.
potentials are there, but I think that there's a lot more, because you look at like a restaurant, what's their advertising budget per month? I don't know, pretty good chunk, and you're asking for a hotel room, and that's a creative way to get them some, you know what I mean? Like, that's in the age of social. I think that, again, for somebody out there who's looking at this as sort of a coaching show more than Ask Gun Questions, but if you're out there thinking about, how do I get in the game? Like, how do I do this? Like, I definitely don't think you need to have an audience first. Audiences will happen, and that's a nice extra, but it's not a requirement. You probably have to have some basic audience. Let's say 1,000 viewers, people that have seen your stuff. You can get 1,000 viewers with one video if you put up the right video saying, can you believe so and so said that? So you can get your 1,000 viewers, and now you can unlock whatever you need to unlock, and then start being that, embracing macro influence, because again, not everybody's looking for the biggest, most expensive thing to hire as their advertising thing. And if you're only asking for, if you go on a trip and you can get all your food covered because you made a few phone calls before your trip, and you get same with the hotel, hey, I can go to 100 hotels, but this one's got homemade breakfast. That's why I go to this hotel. Or this one's got, whatever feature. That's why I go to this one. For me, like, someone lets me bring my dogs in and look at how cool the dog beds are. Maybe I get all my hotels paid for. Actually, I should probably start taking my own advice, and maybe if somebody wants to call around for me and Tony, and we'll give you half of what we would have paid on the hotels if you get us free hotels. But seriously, I mean, this is a big world, and people are looking to do better than that other hotel who's permanently rooted into wherever you're going. You know what I mean? That hotel doesn't have a choice. They're constantly competing with that other hotel down the street or whatever. And again, you don't have to ask. Is it okay if I ask you to give me a comped room? Like, they got rooms sitting there vacant. You're saying, hey, I'm going to come in and have a positive social media influence on the awareness of your hotel. Can I have a free room for a week? They'll be like, heck yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what they care? It's like some room service and some wash and some sheets. Anyway, that's why I guess I was asking about the travel part of it. Now let's get into the travel. You talked about the KFC, or I don't know. We've been an hour. Are you still good to go?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. You talked about KFC, and we know that you've got some family stuff on the way back, but is there other locations or places that you're got in mind?
Well, I was because I'm not gonna swing way out of my way. You know what I mean? Because that just makes it
like a day
way more work. Yeah, and that makes it more work, and then you got to time it because I don't know what people think about this, but if you don't, nothing's worse than timing yourself to go somewhere and get there either 2 hours before they open and then have to find something to do, or you show up right after they close. Now what? So I'm just looking for things that are around me because I'm going to head from Georgia to South Carolina, and I may stop somewhere in South Carolina because I'm going to be there for a few days. But most of it's going to be spend time with family, and I'm not going to run around trying to look for things.
Yeah.
I may stop by a PSA because they have one in the town where my family is. Palmetto State Armory. I'm sorry. Uh, I may stop by there just to be a looky loo and to see what's in the store.
Have you ever been to one of their stores?
Yeah, I've been to the one I'm talking about in the town I'm talking about, and
How big is
just
it? Is it
looking
like,
around.
it's not the size of like an old Kmart.
It was a smaller store. It was one of the smaller stores, and it has a range built into it. And
Oh, okay.
again, I was with family, and I'm like, my wife sacrifices enough to 2A4E that I'm not going to try, instead of spending time with her, hang out for a period of time at this range/gun store.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, yo, dude, you're at Palmetto State Armory. Yeah, but you know what? I need this marriage to last. I'm I'm old, dude. I'm old. I can't be making what is it, dating profiles online. I need to stick with the lady I'm with and keep her happy.
That's definitely the best scenario. Now, is it like you leave your house and you get to KD, or is it drive and you have to stop somewhere and get there the next day?
I usually shoot straight through. I'm not going to hurt myself, but I usually shoot straight through.
Okay.
You know, we, you've driven longer distances, and if you need to pull over and take a nap, you just hit a decent sized truck stop, park under the lights, take a nap, grab a coffee after your nap, and you can get on the road.
That's Jaeger advice I got, and I was like, dang, wish I would have known or heard that advice younger. They probably tell it to truck drivers, but he was the first one that told me, like, when you're done a long trip or whatever like that, take a nap and then drink a cup of coffee. Because I end up drinking a cup of coffee. Because I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I'll drink a cup of coffee, and when it don't work, I take a nap. And now I'm taking a shitty nap because I've got a bunch of caffeine in me. I wake up and now I either got to take more caffeine and get all shitty, or you know what I mean, like get all out of the rhythm or whatever. Yeah. And ever since you mentioned that, I forget how many years ago that was. It's way better. Like it's just such a obvious thing. I never thought about it though.
Well, that's the crazy thing because you turn the vehicle off or even leave it running if you want the AC on. You set it up, you set yourself up, you lay down, you of course wake up startled because you think you fall asleep driving. Just stomping the brake pedal for no reason whatsoever. But you knock that edge off. You knock that edge off, and then all right, cool. I got a decent 45 minute to even an hour and a half nap, zonked out. All right, I'm up. You go use the bathroom, wash your hands, splash some water on your face, and then grab a cup of coffee, and you're on the road again, blasting your freaking, Jesus, almost blasting your cassette player. I love that's how long, how far back it goes with driving, because I was in the Marine Corps and I would make what we call the swoop from Camp Lejeune to Jersey because that was a big thing. You could actually catch a ride going to what we call Swoop Circle on Camp Lejeune, which is headquarters building. You get to headquarters building on a weekend and you just wait on a Friday and somebody comes through. Anybody going to New York? Yep, I'm going. Cool. Gas money, halvesies. You go up and you get dropped off at exit 9 in New Brunswick. They come back and tell you what time they're coming back through. They stop in New Brunswick, pick you up, and you're back at Lejeune Monday morning in time for formation. So that's where my travel tips come from. What do you call it? Just experience driving that, 400 miles? 400 to 500 miles after a shift at work.
I know that I've lived out here most of my adult, I guess, life, right? So I'm just used to the West. I've been taking road trips and stuff, but whenever I get east, your traffic is just a different kind of traffic than out here. Or the roads, I
Oh,
guess, are a
what?
different kind of traffic level. I
Oh,
mean, we'll
dude,
have
I haven't.
traffic around a city, and then it's like
Mhm.
you can do whatever you want because it's your probably well, maybe not depending on where you are. You can have the road to yourself for sure, but just didn't experience that many times. Like you can, and then have I don't want to say you have alternate routes out here because they could take you far out of your way sometimes. But it seemed like going back east, there's fewer routes, and if there's a clog or something happens, construction or accident or something, everybody's taking that alternate route, so it doesn't become an alternate route as much as like the new, even more congested way. Or maybe
You get
I've
to.
only got pinpoints of data, but that was my experience. It's more crowded back there.
Well, see, coming up here. Excuse me. I was not born and raised up here, as you know, but being up here as a driver, as in business, you know what I mean? I came up and I've learned that it's better to be stuck or going slowly driving down a back road than stuck on a main road. So that's where I come at it. You know what I mean? It's like I really
Mhm.
don't want to be. I don't want to be parked on this freaking 4 lane highway when I could just be moving slowly on the back road, stop and pick up a drink, or just get off the road if it's too frustrating, or listen to satellite radio or anything.
Now,
Anything is better than sometimes being on the parking lot.
up in that part of the country, just totally tangent of anything we're talking about, but that made me think of something up there. When you have that kind of situation, you're stuck on the side of the road. Do the state troopers or the police come up, or do they leave you alone? Are you on your
Oh,
own?
what when you're what something breaks down?
Yeah, if you're broke down on the side of a, whatever four
Shit.
lanes are, I imagine by you it's a lot of
I,
interstates.
yeah, I broke down on the turnpike and didn't have the cops show up.
Okay, so
And I'm
not like
talking
they
about.
come and push you off or like harass
Oh,
you or get you out of there. Okay.
not in the least bit. And again, Volvo story. But yeah, I had the dang thing let me down right on the side of the road. I contacted tow vehicle, tow truck comes out like freaking 45 minutes, an hour later, not one cop.
Yeah, that's how it'll be
Not
out
one
here.
cop.
Unless you're doing something or like you need help, I
I mean,
guess. You
yeah, I
call.
mean, I didn't need them to come by. I didn't want them to come by. I wasn't inviting them to come by.
But I
But
know that the reason I ask is I know some states they kind of get pissed if you're stuck on the road and they'll like literally push you if you're close enough. They'll just push you to an exit or like push you onto the frontage or whatever. They'll get you off the road sometimes or like get mad at you until you get a they won't let you like I'm gonna go get the battery and come back. They're like no, get a tow truck and get out of here.
hmm well, Jersey, of course, it's so corrupt that you can't just make a random phone call. You have to call the number they tell you to call, and then they have a what do you call it? A garage which has a contract that only they can get their trucks out there.
Oh really? I had no idea.
Yeah,
So you can't call like your own AAA or whatever you got or
I can
just the
call AAA. I can call AAA, but AAA knows that they can only call so and so towing for this exit,
crazy. Well, I guess that makes sense honestly because otherwise you'd probably get I'm assuming you'd get all kinds of craziness happen.
what you'd
Or
get
is it just
is
the money
dudes
play?
camping. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd get companies camping on the turnpike and then battling for the freaking calls. Like you'd get that competition. So you'd go to a parking, what do you call that? An exit, and they'd be like three different tow companies just like staring at each other across the parking lot with beady eyes. The competition we all imagine is between UPS and FedEx.
Yeah.
It's, that would be happening in the parking lots with tow companies.
I wonder if well, anyway, that's getting off on tangents. We're over an hour in. Um so as far as other stops or whatever, then you've got kind of straight shots, it sounds like. You can you're not like 2 days away from here and 3 days away from
No,
there. Just one day's
I mean,
away. So
truthfully, yeah. I mean, it's like 8, 12 hours. 12 hours is an easy drive.
Because that's a lot easier. Like you're saying, if you got to stop, then you can go, oh, okay, I'll just drive 4 hours this day and 6 hours the next day. And now I can stop
Yeah.
at this town instead of that town. But you're just driving straight through. So now it becomes more of like, if I'm driving at noon, it better be open at noon. If I'm driving at or 9 p.m., it needs to be open at 9 p.m.
So when I drove down to pick up Marco, and then we went out to Kevin Dix's train line when it was in St. Louis, that was 18 hours straight shot. That hurt.
That's long. Yeah. I don't even know if I've done that in a while, but yeah, that would be a lot. At least I
Yeah,
could try that, but I would have to stop and sleep at some point in there. Like I would stop on the side of the road and just sleep, but I would have to do that. I don't think I could do 18 hours.
Yeah, I don't do the. Have I told you the story about me trying to stop on the side of the road? Okay, for people that don't know, Michael Jordan's father was killed in a carjacking because he stopped on the side of the road, took a nap, and woke up and two kids carjacked him and shot him. That's how Michael Jordan's father was killed. I was still in the Marine Corps at that time, and I still remember was doing one of the drives from North Carolina to Jersey after my shift. I used to work from 4 in the afternoon until midnight. And then I got off at midnight in North Carolina, and I was going to do the drive from North Carolina to Jersey. Of course, I'm 2 hours, 3 hours into the drive, and I'm freaking exhausted because youth. Oh, I'm fine. No, you're not. You're tired. So I'm falling asleep. I'm nodding off, and I decide I'm going to pull over on the side of the road and take a nap on 95 North. So as I'm looking for a spot to pull off that at least gives me enough room on the shoulder of the road that somebody won't sideswipe me by accident, I start to slow down. I see only one car on the road behind me, and it's coming up on me, and no one's speeding. So he's coming up on me, and I'm slowing down, looking over, and he passes by. And I see his North Carolina personalized plates, AXMRDR or MURDR. I'm like, that is I figured it was one of those weird, and then I was like, oh my God, that's Axe Murderer. Man, I drove all the way to Jersey. I did not pull over. I did not stop. I was suddenly wide awake, and I forced myself all the way to Jersey because dude's driving around with personalized plates that says Axe Murderer on. And I'm like, man, God,
so crazy.
I'm like, God, can't speak no clearer than that, bro.
Or worse, like he went to some, we'll make any plate you want, and he puts those on when he goes out to murder people, so he's not at his own place.
I have no idea. I just know I was tired, and I read that, and I'm like, well, we're done here. I'm no longer tired.
I've definitely had that happen. I mean, not that specifically, but where you're like exhausted, and then, well, one time I was in Oklahoma because Oklahoma sucks in certain ways. One of them is that between Oklahoma City and Amarillo, it's essentially a straight line. There's nothing. There's like grass somewhere in there. I think it might have been on the New Mexico side, but I think it was in Oklahoma because it was grass. And they also have fires, and they'll say, hey, if there's a fire, don't drive into it. And it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? There's nothing I can do. I'm in the middle of grass or nothing. Like, I'm going to drive through the fire. But anyway, it was I think it was just grass. And it might have been smoke. Or it was clouds. It might have been mist. I don't know. That was reduced visibility. I just don't remember what it was. But I was driving through it. And, I'm in the grass, for like 12 minutes, long enough to wake up from it and go, oh crap, how long have I been asleep and where the hell am I? And I'm going 60. Luckily I just, kind of eased right back over onto the road, but that's what it's like there, or at least it was back in the 90s. And no matter how tired I was there, whatever that adrenaline drop was, or dump was, probably kept me going all the way through Oklahoma City.
Yep. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm awake now. So we'll talk about gun questions. So I have an M16A2 clone or A4 clone with a 1-8 Hawk optic on it, but no sling. I have my dissipator, iron sights, no sling, and I have my high point carbine in the bullpup chassis that has the ability to take sling, and I have a sling for it. I'm trying to think of what to take the training learn to be my personal firearm that I run, and then what's going to be my backup firearm. I've only used this 1:8 one time, so I really don't know how to run it. You know what I mean?
Or that it even
So I'm
will run.
thinking, no, I mean, I've shot it in a competition, and I
Oh,
wasn't really impressed with the groups I shot. As a matter of fact, because it was 100-yard groups, and I'm using the optic for the first time in my life. A magnified optic, and I'm shooting all over the place. It just freaking sucks. And I'm like, but then I shot the iron sight dissipator that I have, and actually shot a tighter group with that than I did with the magnified optic. So I'm trying to think. I think I'll take the high point carbine with a red dot on it, and then my backup will be a dissipator with iron sights. I figure that's better than taking something with an optic. Plus, it's an M16A4 with the freaking Raz rail. So it's what do you think? 10, 10-pound rifle, maybe more.
more of a
Yeah, because that
pencil.
Hawkeye. I mean, it's the M16A4, and it's set up like the Marine Corps does it. But man, I'm not a 20-something-year-old Marine anymore. I'm a dude taking a class because Kevin's
Uh,
the train and learn in St. Louis. You had about mile, half a mile, three-quarters of a mile walk between ranges, and
oh
it
shit.
was really easy. Yeah, it was really easy. I don't know what his new range is like. I haven't seen it. The one he built in Georgia, Greenville. So this high point thing almost weighs nothing comparatively, especially the way it's balanced. So I can hang this on a 2-point sling it around my neck, and hobble my fat butt wherever I need to go without it weighing me down. And if it goes down, an iron sighted AR isn't that heavy.
Have you seen, like, you've gone to events and or competitions and stuff? Have you seen where people take like those little that used to be like a little red wagon and now they're like little foldable canvas wagons, but
Mm-hmm.
they'll have like four wheels like a red wagon, and then they can carry quite a bit of crap around, and then that way you can take pretty much a ton of stuff around, and then just kind of park
See,
it wherever you're at.
I haven't seen that at KD's. I've seen that when I did when I visited and checked out Three Gun, and when I checked out Cowboy Action Shooting.
Well, I guess the question is if you've got one or not, and then because I would say that's the kind of thing you can bring it, and then if you don't need it, don't bring it. But if you need
Mm-hmm.
it, then it's like boom. There's a range out here where I think there was a bunch of people taking like garbage and washing machines and shooting at them. So they made it where you have to walk to the ranges and through a
Mm-hmm.
fence. So it's not that it's distance; it's just that you have to go through this, however big a regular gate is on a fence. So about the only thing you can get in there is one of those wagons. So a bunch of
Uh,
people out there will take all their targets and shit. So they don't got to make like 8 trips. And that's where I was like, okay, I get this. Okay, here's another trick. And this might be more easy to do also. With bungee cords or something, essentially you can rig this up, but you get one of those things for carrying around golf clubs, and you can get those that have like 2 wheels and a peg, so it's like a tripod, and then it's got
mm-hmm.
like a handle, and it's for rugged enough to carry around a bunch of golf clubs. But I bet you could pick one of them up at a thrift store somewhere along the way or whatever, and then bungee like a duffel bag to that or something. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking is like if I'm going out to a place where I'm gonna be away from my car, like if you're driving up to the rain to the bay and you're working out of your trunk, then that's one thing, right? You just got all your stuff in your whole car right there. But if you're not at that kind of situation, then some kind of a wagon, some kind of a wheeled little cart is, I think, like the difference. It's like glam camping or whatever that's called. Like, you know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
makes the difference between having to deal with the class and like being able to concentrate on all the other stuff, because essentially you got your MacGyver box of everything you're going to need: water, food, and an umbrella and stuff, like, just that kind of stuff that most people aren't thinking about. But I know Katie's building the place, but something like a giant golf umbrella, again, those things are super cheap. I got my golf umbrella for $3, like just a
Nice.
big ass umbrella. Essentially it's just bigger than and I don't think it's really made for rain. I think it's just for sun, but you can
Mm-hmm.
get those that attach, so maybe even one that is with that cart or clamps onto that cart. And then that's the kind of, and then one of those little 3-wheel or 3-peg seats. I don't know what you got, if you got like a seat or something you drag around, or like a milk crate. But if you can scoot that thing around, put up some shade, then it becomes probably, I don't know what he's going to have for shade there. If he's got trees everywhere, then it ain't an issue, right? But if you're standing out in a field or whatever, anyway.
Yeah,
Like
I was told he's going to have tents set up.
Oh, okay, pop-ups. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So hopefully there's tents set up, because again, this is Georgia and June.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. It's not the worst.
So this,
it ain't it ain't gonna be cool.
So the guys over at Tactical Response told me that I've been invited out to take their handgun class. What do you call their pistol class?
Fighting pistol?
Yeah, they go fighting pistol. They're like, yeah, we're gonna invite you out to take fighting pistol, fighting rifle. I forget which one. I was like,
Right.
Yeah, it's really great, guys, but I am not going when it's anywhere even warm. I was like, So y'all hold that stuff in the winter? I'm like, man. Yeah, listen, let me explain something. I live in Jersey. I'm trying to avoid getting killed in Camden, New Jersey. I don't need to die from heat stroke in Camden, Tennessee. I'm just saying. Camden, New Jersey is hoofah. It actually go ahead.
I'm interrupted. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to talk about Camden, New Jersey being like one of the murder capitals. Actually, it was so bad they got rid of the police department in Camden and only had the state police there for a minute. Like they just got rid of the whole department.
For
and they have whatever. They just whatever you want to call it. Whole department went bye-bye, and they were bringing in state police, and then they had to put together classes of county, just sheriff's department. Like they were running people through the sheriff's department academy just to get them down there to Camden so they could have a everyday police force. And I'm like, yeah, how'd that work out for you?
Is it like it's a city, right? It's not like
it's a city, right? Town? When you come out of Philly across the bridge, Camden is the place you go into.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was more like a suburb, rural town or something.
And Camden is where Campbell Soups was actually started.
Oh, okay.
Campbell Soups was a huge employer there. So were others, because when you have a big employer like that, you've created businesses that do that kind of thing. So Camden was big to the point that we have the museum, or what do you call it? Aquarium, Camden Aquarium there. And we also have the USS New Jersey Park there. So
is that a battleship that's parked there or something?
Yeah, that's the battleship that last kicked off the Gulf War.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that kicked off the Gulf War, and of course it was from World War II, and bodied people there and had a long history, but it's in Camden. And it's like no one wants to go there, bro. So anyway, I was at Train and Learn last year, met the guys. We both made an impression with each other, and I got invited out. And I'm going to take fighting pistol, but it is not going to be when it's hot out. Actually, I look forward to it because I like those guys, and I've seen fighting pistol. With James back in the day, and I was on Get Off the X, the forum, talking to those people.
Damn, I forgot about the forum.
Yeah, left a bad taste in my mouth. A whole bunch of people that were like, "Oh, you can't talk about it if you've never there, if you've never done this, or if you never used this." So I brought up the fact I had a high point. And of course, I got dunked on, and most of the people dunked. I've never shot one. I was like, so what are you talking about? I thought some of the rules for being on this forum that if you don't know anything about it, you can't talk about it. Yeah, it didn't bode out well for me.
What years
was
that? That was like early 2000s?
No, this had to be 2012. Yeah. Had to be 2011. Yeah. Because my whole thing was I bought what was the least expensive, and I'm shooting it, and I'm shooting it well. I mean, I'm shooting my handgun regularly.
That wasn't a thing in that era, though.
Yeah, but I'm shooting my handgun regularly at 100 yards. And, by then, I'd probably put a couple thousand, at least 1,500 rounds through that handgun, because I was shooting every week. I'd shoot like 2, 3, 4 boxes every week. And And I do drills further out because in range 14, you have a 15-yard minimum you can put the target out. So regardless, you're shooting at 15 yards with your handgun. So that was a starting point. So to me, my starting point was 25 yards with my handgun. That's where I started. So I didn't go to an indoor range. So I never saw these people that are, 5-yard ninjas, 7-yard ninjas, or what do you call them? 7-yard snipers. That's what it is.
I was just
You know,
thinking
so
as you're talking about 25 yards, though, like it is totally different when you can have a paper target at 7 yards from you, like right there.
mhm.
It's different. Like it's different to draw on a target right there. And then in the class, because you almost never get to do this at a range unless you're by yourself, but to go up and like place the muzzle on the cardboard, or to be
Mhm.
where you've probably seen people where you put your like hand on the shoulder of the target and then you pull
Yep.
your offhand back to your chest and then draw. So you're not shooting yourself, but essentially so that you're kind of, or maybe you're not touching the target. What am I saying? You're putting your hand up, and sometimes it depends on class. I guess you're either touching it or you've got your hand up, essentially to indicate like you've been defending yourself from getting hit, but they're that close
Mhm.
to you that your hand's on, and then you bring your hand in so you don't hurt yourself, and then you shoot. That's
Like,
that's advanced level. Anybody that thinks that like there's ninja rolls and shit happen in a tactical class, like
yeah,
that's essentially that's the toughest stuff because, well, having 8, 9, 10 people do that, it's super
online, it's you gotta
risky.
you
You
gotta
got to
watch
have
like a
good
hawk.
instructors, but that's about the riskiest thing you're going to do. The most like you're never going to jump, you're never going to run through nothing, you're never going to run around nothing. Like you're never moving fast at all. The most I've ever seen is like a figure 8 drill on an
Yeah,
off class.
the
But
figure eight
essentially,
drill is the only thing I've seen.
but
So my
that's
whole thing was
just super intimidating getting close up. So anyway, 25
I've
yards.
never taken a class, but I've only my own drills. Again, 25 yards was a regular. 50 yards was no big deal because I skipped over 50 and went straight to 100 with a handgun. So it was either 15, 25, or 100. So I knew what I could do because I dry fired a lot. I removed the magazine disconnect from the high point, and I ran the high point like it was real. I mean, excuse me, it is a real handgun, but I ran the high point like other people say they run their Glocks, which is not how most people run a high point. Many of the high point owners, or
They're
just like
fire
a lot of the Glock owners, they buy the
they're fire
gun. What was that?
just interrupting saying they're fire extinguishers. People buy them to set them on a
Yep,
counter in case they ever need them, but they're not going to touch them until then.
exactly. So, or they talk a whole lot more about shooting them than they actually do, or they have multiple handguns. And High Point was like an inexpensive gun they bought just to check out, and they're shooting their SIG, they're shooting their other thing. But the High Point is one, range trolling, and two, they just wanted to check out this inexpensive gun to see if it works. Well, that was the only handgun I had, so I would dry fire it until my wife wanted to punch me in the face. Um, and I would also not dry fire, but take my airsoft gun, which was a CO2 uh, Humarex USP, HK USP. It was made by Humarex for HK, so it was licensed 100%, and even the initial double action long ass trigger pull was 100% realistic for the first trigger pull on a USP because that's the duty gun they had with the department. So I got to try it out. So I would shoot that. So I worked that double action trigger, and then I would shoot the High Point with its mushy trigger with a weird break. But it makes no difference because I learned on the double action. So this mushy trigger means nothing. Click, rack the slide, click, and I would do that 20 minutes at a time at night. And then of course I go to a range 2 to 3 days a week, easy. And I just knew what would work with that gun. So when I talked about it from my own experience. But of course, the guys over at Get Off the X Forum didn't want to hear that because why would you own this piece of crap? And I'm like, I'd really like to run this in a class against some of these guys that yammer all the time. Well, I got invited to a class, but it wasn't in Camden. It was actually an off-duty carry class presented by one of the organizations associated with the department that I was working with. So here I come in Jersey with a High Point and I had to buy a holster for it because it was a carry class. I'd never drew from a holster before, dude. Now I'm a firearms instructor at that point. That's how they let me in the class because I was already a firearms instructor. Then I found out it's a holster draw class. I'm like, oh shit. So I get the only holster I could find for the high point. I forget the name of it. I did a review on it. Anyway, I get the holster. I go to class, and all these guys, of course, I have a full size high point that weighs like 7.8 pounds. These guys all have shields, Smith and Wesson shields. What was it, 7-shot? And I don't even think, I think maybe the Glock had just came out with their Glock 43, whatever the little skinny Glock was that was single stack 9mm. But that was the whole class. It was those guys with pistols that weigh about 15 to 16 ounces. And there was me and this freaking the modern day Colt Walker that weighs like 4 pounds. And I had to actually learn how to draw in the class safely and shoot against these guys.
Well, but
the cool part
was the class in where was the class held?
In Jersey. The class was in Jersey. It was
Right,
held by. Go ahead.
I was just saying, in that kind of environment, these guys didn't have a lot of experience drawing either, did they?
No, they were all law enforcement, so of course they had experience drawing from holsters,
okay.
and they had.
Okay.
So I was the only non-law enforcement there.
I got you.
And so I had to learn to draw in class against dudes that were shooting with me, and they pair us up when we did the drawing. So, they ran the class, they ran us through exercise, they ran us through all that, but they finished the class up by you would shoot against the person next to you. You partnered up.
Mm-hmm.
And both of you are facing your targets downrange, but the minute one of you moves, the other one draws because you're doing like a quick draw against each other.
You're dueling, but in the same direction, so nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, you're dueling. Yeah, exactly. So, of course, I got my ass kicked because, I'm doing 5-pound curls every time I do a draw from a holster. And this guy's pulling out something, he's already practiced with. He has years of experience with. But what I did notice was when I pulled the trigger, regardless of the distance, I don't think I had a group of shots bigger. I could have rented out space on my target. I used so little of it up because I had so much experience shooting my firearm compared to them. Between dry fire and real rounds and range time, when it comes time to line up the sights, pull the trigger, and hit the target, I was way more experienced. But when it came time to draw from concealment, they beat me hands down. And also their gun weighed half of what mine weighed. But I got better throughout the whole thing. And then that was my first class, and I took classes after that. And it really helped me grow as a shooter. And that holster, I just worked it. And that's what I'll actually be taking to train and learn, because we're talking about shooting a video about making yourself good with what you got and not blaming the tool, but just becoming this person that can use that tool well.
But the tools can screw with you. CT is saying Uncle Mike's holster, but I was going to say that if people haven't, since we're just kind of chatting, if people have not ever worn whatever you want to call it, like a police belt or a duty belt or a war belt, it's essentially a really thick outside belt, not your pants, not the belt that holds up your pants, but essentially a gun belt. So like in the olden days with the cowboys, they had their pants on with a belt, but then they'd put on their holster, their gun belt. So the modern equivalent of that is, just a big nylon belt. Sometimes if it's for a soldier, it's going to be carrying a lot of weight and all day, so they're going to probably have it padded. So it's going to look super thick, like a weightlifting belt a little bit. But then a cop will have it a little bit less bulky because they got handcuffs and all that stuff they're putting on it. But either way, these are either attaching to their pants or their pants are attaching to the belt. But either way, they're like a solid foundation. So if you ever get a chance to put on, it doesn't have to have like all the attachment points. Like some of the belts will Velcro to the inside belt, and there'll be a big procedure to it. Or the military stuff, like I said, will have a big pad so you can really anchor it. But whenever you can just get a big thick belt and put a draw holster on, like an outside the waistband draw holster, like a real holster, like a police would wear, like a what do you call it? A real, not a detective, just a regular police would wear. The reason they wear those holsters, well, I guess part of it's retention, but mainly it's because they're super effective to draw from. Like you can't get it, and that's why some competition shooters use those, essentially slimmed down versions of those belts, because it's just so different. Like the Uncle Mike's, the reason people don't like Uncle Mike's isn't just because it's all saggy, but because it doesn't let go of your holster, and it's not like Velcro, but it's like a marshmallow. Like it'll just snag on anything it can and fight you to pull your gun out of there, or just be a limp sock, right? And just not be where you expect it to be and give. It's not going to hold steady and let you pull from it. It's going to just be annoying. Where those, and then when you use some kind of a police belt, I'm assuming you've got some kind of a Kydex or more holster on there, something that doesn't collapse, like a nylon holster or a leather holster, and then often will clip to your gun trigger guard or something. So if you get a chance, if you know somebody that competition shoots, or somebody that's got some kind of some kind of a contractor's rig or whatever you want to call that, try it out. I don't like them. I'm too fat, and I don't want all that stuff on as a belt. I'm old fashioned. I'd rather have it on my vest or on my gear somehow. And then I want to bring another topic, since we're still talking about train and learn. But then that's all I'm going to say is, and then maybe even a drop leg. If you ever shot from a drop leg, they're not trendy anymore. They're more trendy when you've got to wear other stuff, and you don't need your gun to be right up on your hip. But for retention wise, because somebody who's knocking in your door in the middle of the night, they're not worried about you taking their gun. But a cop is probably worried about you coming up and taking their gun, so they're not going to wear a drop leg. Also, if you're walking around the donut shop every day, or just day to day doing things, a drop leg gets in the way. If all you're doing is jumping out of a helicopter and knocking down a door and taking somebody to their business, who cares if your gun knocks on shit? Because you don't give a crap if your gun knocks on shit in that point. But that's the other problem with drop legs, is you might as well tie a gun to your knee, because you're swinging it all over the place, and it's out and where you're not used to have. It's like putting a bunch of books in your cargo pocket. Try going through any doorway with that.
It's gonna grab everything like a baby. So what I have is, I have a vest, a chest rig. I got a chest rig set up. So that's how I have my thing set up. And I'm not worried about it. Oh, Phobos. I used a Phobos holster, a hard plastic Phobos holster.
A lot of people do. I really like Phobos. I think they're awesome. They have incorporated paddles, and they're made out of injection molded, opposed to some of the other plastics that are out there. They're made in Israel, and they're injection molded. And I think it's because, unless I'm wrong, isn't Israel right next to the water? So I figured they made them injection molded like that because they have an anti-rust thing going on. And, what do you need anti-rust, especially out here in Arizona? Well, when you jam that gun right up next to your sweaty body, guess what? Rust. So I really like that. I've seen so many guns come into the shop over the years that were all rusted out from somebody being sweaty on them, because whatever you do out here, you're going to get sweaty. Or if you're large enough to get sweaty, you just get the gift of being sweaty all the time. So, I really like Phobos. And then if you outgrow the paddle holster, like some people are like, those are training wheels. I can't use a paddle holster, even though it's super convenient to be able to leave the gun in your holster and just take the paddle off, put it in your car, take the paddle off and put it in your nightstand or whatever. Some people like to be able to take their gun out and then have their holster attached to their pants or whatever. I'm not one way or the other, but I don't disregard Phobos. I really like that paddle, but I don't wear them every day either. I mean, they are uncomfortable having this giant paddle in your pants to some extent, but compared to not having a gun, I'd rather have it, right? But what they're awesome for is you go to some kind of a range, or like what you're doing. Now you've got a Phobos, and for all your guns, because they don't weigh nothing. Now something happens, you've got a backup holster that's decent. It's not perfect, but it'll work, and it's strong enough to work. They have reinforced rivets where the paddle and the holster come together. I've only seen like 2 broken ones. But the other thing I like about them is I have a big Eagle range bag, like a giant old-fashioned range bag. I don't know if people still have big range bags, but because I got to bring targets and cleaning stuff, and you know what I mean. You got a giant. I don't have a little dinky range bag, so for me, I would put the thing in the range bag.
Yeah, I just looked it up, and it's still the same damn holster from pretty much when I took the class and used it years ago. It's called the Evolution holster for the High Point, and it comes with the paddle on the back, and it also comes with the belt loop thing. So I use the belt loop because the paddle's horrible. and just
Yeah.
sweaty, icky.
I guess I'm saying, like, if you've got a bag and you're going to have that as your backup, or you're just going to
Hmm.
be traveling with it, that Phobos is essentially like, it'll clip to the side of your bag. It'll clip to a pocket. My bag has dividers in it, so I clip it to those dividers. And 2 or 3 guns just clip to the dividers, and now I don't have to carry the guns in a separate sock or nothing. They're in their own holster. Anyway, I
And
just
you
think
don't cost an
nice
arm and a
alternative.
leg.
Yeah, they're like
So,
these like $30. I don't know what they cost now.
so my whole thing, it starts with when I started out, I had one firearm. Now, as I become an instructor, I have more than one firearm. But now, what do you do? How many holsters do you carry? So I found a company that made a holster that's good enough that it can be used with my CZ75s because I don't have a CZ75B. I have the prior to the B. It's not the pre-B because that's an actual one, but it's a weird ass 1989, 1991. Those are the 2 guns I have, what years they were built. You can't find a specific holster for those. So I found one of those one size fits all holsters, tightened it up, put my firearm in it, and then hit it with a heat gun. So it kind of molded to it. It's like $30. $30, injection molded plastic again, and it works. I listen to some guys talk and they're like, oh, if you don't have fill in the name brand here of $75, $85, $110 holster. And I'm like, that's great, because you got one gun. You've got that Glock 45 that you ran in every class. I have 5 different pistols. So to me, at $30 a piece, $150, I have holsters, inexpensive ones, for all of my firearms, for classes, not for carry, but for classes. It's good enough for a class. You carry yours every day, or as we see, and you've seen it going to classes over the years, a lot of the guys that take these classes pretty much play dress up for a class, and they don't take their gear out until they go into the next class to play dress up again. So they've never really ran that gun in the thing they came with. They wear them for classes, they wear them at the range or run them at the range, but this is not how they run their firearms. If you're going to have a personal EDC gun, carry it to class, use it in class. Now, I've been to Pincus's class, I think 3 times, 3 different Pincus classes. I've been to 2 classes by other instructor, 4. I don't know. I've been to like 10 total handgun or handgun related classes. And many of them are for personal carrier EDC. And rarely have I seen anyone actually bring their EDC to these classes, which is, you want to take a gun you can shoot all day so you can learn the techniques. So I wouldn't expect somebody to bring, a LCP in 9mm to a 1,000 round 3-day class. That's just going to kick your ass and fatigue you. But it's like they don't bring their carry gun at all. I do. I have a Glock 19 that I carry every day, all day, and I have a decent holster for it because that's my carry gun. But if I'm taking a class with something else, yeah, I have a inexpensive holster because I'm only breaking it out for that class to learn a technique or run that particular gun, just to do a review on it or get a high round count on it, just to learn about the firearm for my own education. So when I ran the Pincus class, and I think I did his 3-day class, it was his longer handgun class that was more involved. And I ran a Glock 19 the first day, and I ran a CC75 the second day, and then I brought in the Glock 19 for the third day. So, which is also interesting, because I have inside the waistband carry, appendix carry, and many trainers don't want you to do that unless you've shown efficiency with it. That you're not a danger to yourself. And I put a lot of rounds through it. I've shot in competitions with it. I've gone to a bunch of classes with it. And people don't expect a dude my size with my belly to be able to carry appendix, but I do safely. I don't find size to be anything. I mean, I'm big as hell. I'm only been this size, but people keep telling me big dudes can't carry an, appendix. Beg to differ. I don't know how you carry.
Me, I
But
carry in my pocket.
okay.
I don't know, but if I'm carrying a Glock or whatever, outside the waistband.
Hmm.
I haven't tried carrying inside the waistband in a while. I just wear a shirt. Plus, I'm in Arizona. Nobody gives a shit if I gotta go.
Yeah, true, true, true. People here have a connection.
But I hardly ever carry on my belt unless I'm out doing something. You know, back in the day, we'd be out filming or something and have like a lot of money out there. And there's
Hmm.
things that happen in the deserts out here that you wouldn't just want to leave
Yep.
a bunch of money laying around. So we would, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to carry more capacity and distance and then, and 45 and everything. I don't go by I only wear whatever when I'm going to need it philosophy, because that's foolish. Like, how do you know the future or whatever? But I figure in those scenarios, it's just a more potential. Plus, a mountain lion or something like a grizzly bear comes flying at us or something. But
Hmm.
anyway, no. So I didn't care at all if I was outside. In fact, outside was just more comfortable, right?
Oh, it probably is. Yeah, definitely.
But
It's
honestly,
funny
I'm
because
not.
again,
I've gone to classes. I appreciate classes. I like them and everything. But I'm not worried about if I'm proficient in drawing, because one, I don't carry from my belt, and I carry it out of my pocket. So it's, I'm screwed if my right hand goes down or something like that. I'll take off my pants or something. But I just don't. I'm, for all the crap and reasons people are going to tell me that they can justify 9mm, I can justify that they're role playing in general go into a class, because nothing happens to any of us. We live in the fucking safest country on the planet. Now, unless you're going to go sell fentanyl somewhere, right? Now you might get into some trouble. But anyway, I'm I'm not too concerned about being proficient, mainly because, well, like I said, what's the word? I, the same way I don't worry about being proficient with a hammer. When I need to use a hammer, I can use a hammer pretty good. And you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but so I'm not discounting training at all, because I'm, like I say, I'm a big fan of it. But it's like, maybe it's like karate or something. Like, I like knowing some karate or whatever. I did taekwondo, I guess, technically, but I don't go practice it all the time. I could not do a kick or whatever, you know what I mean? But if somebody came up to fight me, I think I'd have a better chance than somebody who's never taken taekwondo before. At least I understand what a fighting stance looks like at me. I'm using a dumb example, but you know what I mean? I guess I'm just saying, we're not in that much danger. When you bring up being on the road, okay, I've done some stuff where I potentially could have been in some way kind of random danger, but
hmm
and I don't transfer money from like a business to the bank, which I've done in the past, right? I have been in situations where I'd be more concerned, but since I'm not doing anything that is anyone would want to take something from me, and I'm not little, like I don't think anybody's just going to try to be mean to me for no reason in 2024. You know what I mean? Like, I rely on that, I guess. But
well,
if I had kids, and
well,
like I say, if I was taking like cash from the restaurant to the bank every night, then it'd be a totally different situation.
well, you don't do high risk behavior. That's what you're talking
Yeah,
about. But see, I
I have the luxury of not
I look
having.
at it as, yeah, I look at training as it's training. Um, it's more important that you have a mindset where you actually pay attention to what's around you.
Oh, I should have
Um,
said that, because that's way more what I was trying to get at. Like, understanding the dangers means that you're not gonna. Oh, I guess I'm gonna wander into this alley randomly talking on my phone. I just don't do dumb stuff, because I've seen what
mhm.
other people happen when they're dumb. But I think most people when they're 50 probably think the same way. Like, oh, I've seen it all. I'll never, nothing
I'm
that
like,
bad will ever happen to me. I've seen all the bad stuff happen. I'm gonna avoid all
you
the
know,
bad stuff now on.
uh-uh. I just take less chances now that I'm older, and I'm like, I had some training, and I do not feel training, firearms training, even EDC is 100% necessary, but I believe efficiency with your firearm is. And one of the ways to waste less time and money to become efficient is to take a class, to learn what you don't know.
With you there. No, I'm with you there. And I think it shouldn't be mandatory, but it should be interesting enough that everybody takes a class. And we live in a time when, I don't know, I'm gonna go back to music. It's like you can buy a guitar and just own it. Nobody cares. It's a free country, right? You can say you're a musician, but nobody agrees that you're a musician because, But that being said, some people can pick up a guitar, fiddle with it for a while, and then listen to a song and pretty much nail that song because guitar songs aren't that hard, really. And I think it's the same way in real life. If you nobody does this because they're scared to do it, but they should. But if you looked at all the different things that happen with a firearm out there that are not suicides, obviously, because we know that we're being attacked with the 2 out of 3 deaths from a suicide. But if you take all the interactions between bad people and good people, what's the percentage of the good people that had training? You know what I'm saying? It's got to be right.
1 to 2%.
I mean, I was going to give it 10, but I was thinking very little or low, right? Like very little. I don't know. Has anyone done that? And I'm just not aware of it.
Okay, I'm just repeating what I've heard from a couple of different instructors, and they might have gotten information from the same place. But what they're saying is when you take firearms training for self-defense beyond a basic carry class, beyond a hunting class, you're pretty much in the 1 to 2% of people in the country that do that.
Okay, well, that's good enough, I think, for us, what math we're doing. So across the board, 1% of people get trained. Then it stands to reason that of all the things that happen, it's probably like a low number because honestly, the people that have been trained, like we're saying, once you're trained, you're like, it's as simple as all someone has to do is like, I don't know, trip over something once and then they don't trip over shit so much anymore, right? Like all you have to do is go into a parking lot, paying attention to your phone once and get the shit scared out of you. And you never walk into a parking lot like that.
On the phone again. Yep.
So training just gives you the opportunity to not have to like be in danger when you get the shit scared out of you. So essentially it's just like your big sister, your big brother telling you like a bunch of stuff that you should know. And it's all obvious. And then once you've got that experience, you can memorize it and you can be able to recite it and know it all. And then whatever, that doesn't make you safer, but it does because now you have the knowledge and you're whatever. Again, you're not going to walk down that alley or whatever.
So
but then I think a little bit of it is you get that guitar and again, you don't have to learn any of it, but some people are going to naturally learn it. But here's the other thing. Like I think that everyone should understand that owning a gun is it's like owning a paintbrush, maybe. Like you can do whatever you want with that. So you can take that guitar and go learn jazz. You can go play rock. You can play country. You can do something weird that's different. You can maybe build guitars, right? Like you could just tune guitars for people. So I think that I don't want to crap on training at all. Like I think it's actually something that we'd be so much better off if everyone said, oh, I'm going to start taking classes because we all get better. I guess I was pushing against I think what you were kind of talking about, the folks that go to class, I don't know, whenever they can, essentially. Like when some people that really get into it and not just the role players, they're different. Like I like the role players, the people that just want to see if their gear works because maybe they're preppers or something. And that's the only chance they get to see if their rifle works with that plate carrier or if they can get up and down from kneeling with their plate carrier because plate carriers are freaking heavy. So sometimes I get it. And then the other side of those people that I've experienced with, and this was years ago, I guess, they're like tech people, doctors, people that just have money and their hobbies are expensive and they want to go play. So hell yeah, they make the classes happen. Like, to have a decent come out to Arizona, six out of the 10 students or 16 out of the 30 students would be what we call cosplayers, like role players. And right on, like I don't care. Like they don't even think the world's ending. They just wanted to play with this cool kit that they saw in movies and they can afford it and go for it. That's the toys they bought. So I'm not down with that. But on the other hand, I think that go into these classes, and this is, I don't know if it's unique to me because I was reviewing the classes for the websites and stuff back in the day. But what happened is I went to a couple and I was like, oh, they're different from each other. I went to tactical response and then I went to guns to front sight. Can you imagine two more different? And then I went to Masada U directly next to each other. But, I mean, like talk about differences. And then I was like, not only is it's like going to, again, like learning to play guitar from one guy and another guy are learning like Taekwondo or karate or judo. Like these are all fighting, but they're all so different. So I was just really interested in learning the differences there. And then the different styles of instruction blew my mind. Like, again, the ones I had experienced were really good. And then what happened is I went to a bunch of others and then everything started to get, I don't know what to call it, like mixed together and weird. It got less somehow. But anyway, at the beginning there, when I first started going around, it was really, really interesting to see, I have this philosophy. Tactical response in a fighting, a force on force. You draw on somebody with a simunition rounds real quick. Like, hey, let's figure out how to do this stuff safely. Here's what we're going to do. You two draw on each other pretty quick. Like, it wasn't that quick, but, pretty quick. Like, you're drawing on people. So any illusion you had that, like, oh, I'm carrying my gun and I'm going to be shooting BBs out of it, like, I'm so good.
Yeah.
Your friend 15 feet away in real life with your gun or with a training gun, which is essentially your gun. Nah, people do not have you. It's like against our grain to want to shoot at each other. I don't care what you think or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So going through classes is critical. It's vital. But I'm going to stop short of saying it's like necessary, because I can understand people that can not need the knowledge, or two, get the knowledge from other place. But like I say, instead of having to walk into a parking lot and get the shit scared out of you, or worse, you can just go to somebody who can teach you 16 things in a day. I'll shut up.
Yeah, it's a shortcut to learning the things that you probably bumble through or stumble across from YouTube, if you're into it. Because everybody to purchase a firearm for protection is not into guns. They don't. They have it as a necessary tool, a tool they found necessary at some time or another. So I have a friend of mine, who's an older gentleman, Vietnam vet, who shot with me at some of these military shoots. Well, because of what's happened since 2020, and he's seen things, and he's getting older, and he's understanding that he can't knuckle up and fight people anymore. You know what I mean? That he may need to use a firearm. And again, he already owns firearms, but not as a self-protection type of thing. So he's been asking me to help guide him through and give him suggestions. So I have. He's not going to take a freaking tactical response fighting pistol class. He's not going to take other classes because he already has range time. He's already shot handguns. His wife probably definitely isn't going to take it. Hopefully, because this is, in my opinion, the only saving grace in New Jersey's requirement to carry permit, because he said both him and his wife are going to get the carry permit, is that some of the things he doesn't know he'll be exposed to at the carry permit class for New Jersey. Because outside of that, he wouldn't know what holster to get, how to carry, drawn from the holster. All of that is going to be shortcut by taking this class. That's mandatory by the state, that I don't think should exist. I think you should be encouraged, but I don't think it should exist as a requirement to carry.
What about when you say encourage? What about, like, hey, you get a discount on your car insurance or your taxes or something if you take a class, but it's not mandatory?
Yeah, that's the kind of encouragement. And I actually talked to a representative down here who was a Republican, by the way, that blew me off when I was trying to go, that's an alternative than requirement. Oh, no. I'm like, a requirement is against the Constitution, but encouragement is fine. I encourage you to take this by giving you discounts, by taking something off, by refunding the money, by giving you a write-off. A write-off doesn't cost you anything, as in the government.
That's a good point. Yeah, like, hey, whatever it costs you for that class, just write it off. But you don't have to take it. But if you do, it doesn't cost you nothing.
Yeah, I'm like, that costs $0 to the government, but it takes money off of me. Hey, write the gun off, write the ammo off, write your training expenses off, write your range fee off. It encourages you to have all of the above. And if you're one of those idiots that are going to pay for ammo, a holster, and range fees and not use any of it, that's on you too. So, hey, I like that people donate stuff to the diversity shoot. I really appreciate it. And it helps out a lot. If you heard the rumble and the noise I was making, what I'm doing is putting everything together for training on, and I was consolidating my ammo. And I have a lot of 45 and 10 millimeter. So I'm looking through, and someone donated 2 boxes of 357 SIG to me. You're a real joker. Now, thank you, but you know what this means, right?
Maybe you can trade it. Well, you're going to buy this gun, but I'm saying maybe you can trade it.
Yeah, it's like that means there's a 357 sig barrel at least in my future because I
Oh,
was looking at aim surplus.
yeah, I didn't think of that, but yeah, we can make something a 357 saying.
Well, it's like I have a 40 cal uh, P07, but there is no P07 357 sig barrel that I could find. And it's just coming into one of those things where it's cheaper for me to buy a Glock 22 and then pick up a 357 sig barrel for that also, just to have a third caliber. Because that's the way I look at it. When you get a Glock 22, you can get a 9 millimeter barrel, conversion from 40 to 9 mil. You have the 40 barrel already, and then you have a 357 sig barrel. Well, why would you do that? Because I've lived through how many ammo apocalypses? Do you call them
That could be
apocalypses?
interesting to have
Apocalypta?
that could be interesting to have at the diversity shoots too, just to let people know, like, if you're limited to one gun, or you're just not interested in owning a bunch of guns right off the bat, and you always
I'm
throw
like,
22 in there with a slide.
here's a slide I can put on. Boom, boom. Look, it's 9 millimeter now. How does that work? 100%. Boom, mag, bang, 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 bang. All right, boom, boom, and I can take less time than an ATF agent to drop the slide. Remove the slide quickly. Swap the barrel out on the 40 to a 357 sig. Have because we can set it up and demonstrate and be safe because that'll be the only thing in the port. But it's like, why not have this as an option? Because we do this. We talk about firearms, and you and I, because again, we've tried things, we've done things, we tried it just because it was there. We're not one of the guys that got stuck with the whole, if it ain't tactical, there's no purpose. No. Learning is a purpose all on its own. Trying out weird stuff is a thing that you might learn, you dig it, or you might find something. This is what I picked up on. Because of the number of people we invite to diversity shoots, pretty much from 10 years old to 90 years old, everybody doesn't run a gun like you do if you're 23-year-old in good shape and can do, 15 pull-ups and your dream is to be a Navy SEAL. Nah. You might be just a grandmother that is the home, the person that's now in charge of providing security for your household because your husband can no longer do that for whatever reason. Well, do you think she gives a damn about a Daniel Defense AR with a Riz rail and the ability to hold a laser and night vision goggles? No. But she probably wants something effective to protect her family from whatever she thinks may be happening in her neighborhood. More than likely, people breaking in because they see two old people living in the house and assume they have drugs in the house because of prescription drugs. That might be her self-defense scenario that she's protecting herself against, and she doesn't need that, but she probably wants something with a light on it to help identify stuff at night, or she wants something that she can put behind her back if somebody's knocking on the door in the middle of the night and she goes to look out the peephole. So because we explore things and have done different things and have a wide variety of interest in firearms, or at least interest in looking at it, checking it out, seeing it firsthand and touching it, that it helps others. It doesn't have to be all about goons in the dark, which is also fun. And it's fun to do that stuff as I'm sitting in the room with various red dots and lights and calibers, because I like that part too. But I do understand that what we do is kind of in a minority.
Well, I'm going to take a chance here, or take the opportunity to start winding it down because we don't
Yes, sir.
keep chatting just randomly here. But
Yeah, we do tend to do that.
I was just looking at something here and on Instagram, and then Pincus was posting 5 hours ago. I just saw it show up in my feed right now. So about the NRA annual meeting or whatever way earlier. So that's frustrating.
Okay.
But anyway, I was scrolling through and it was just looking for something, and it went immediately to stuff that I don't follow. And so this was like a random thing or whatever. But it looks like the 14th, which was just a few days ago, right? Was the last time that a Harrier was flown. If I'm reading it
Oh,
correctly,
dang.
I didn't realize that they were on the cutting board and that it was not just the last time it was flown, but like the last time, what do they call that? They're going to be at an air show. So I don't know if
Oh,
that
wow.
means, like, if that was like a, what do they call them? Like a team that, was like went out
Flight
and
team?
yeah, like maybe they shut the funding down for a flight team or something. But anyway, that's frustrating because the Harrier's kind of a cool era, I guess. If it's
Yeah. Well, it was, truthfully, the Harrier was fine, but understand the weakness in the Harrier was the fact that the engines were mid-wing, mid-plane, and pretty much even the vertical lift, the takeoff, all that. And it wasn't that fast. Like had a top speed of barely over 600 miles an hour, slick. So what is the F-35? Short takeoff landing, vertical short takeoff landing takes place is a lot faster. It could carry more stuff. It has, a lot more modern because the Harrier is from like
Oh, I
1968,
didn't realize we
1970.
had another vertical
Mhm.
takeoff. Okay.
I
I
think
thought
it's
it was
the
okay.
F-35B is the Marine Corps version.
Okay. And that's you guys are the ones that need them. Because that way you don't have to have a stupid airfield and all the rest. At least as big a one, you can have essentially like a little helicopter airfield, right? And just kind of drop onto it, still support with
Yeah,
air.
I
Well,
mean,
that was the
and
idea.
and the thing we did, the thing we practiced, because if people don't know, I was in the Marine Corps Air Wing. I did both fixed wing when I was in Japan and rotary wing. That's what they called it, helicopters. When I was in North Carolina, so we practiced landing in things like school parking lots, school buildings on base, or just small squares because. Uh, Forever ago, we thought we'd be fighting in Europe, and all the air bases 100% are going to get hit. They're already targets. They're not only targets for missiles, airstrikes, and terrorist organizations or special operations, but they're just going to be not there. So, our whole thing for the Marine Corps and the British at the time was to be able to use small lots, even small stretches of road that you could pull up in the trucks, load up ordnance, land the freaking plane, fuel it up, and get out of there. And now GPS locations, the next place your airfield is going to be after you finish this mission is not going to be where you just landed at. So that capability was really important. But I didn't know the carrier was gone. It's just weird getting old, bro. I mean, I'm feeling like a World War II vet. You know
Yeah,
what I
right.
mean? It's like, yeah. Mustangs were great, and so was Juggernauts, and now you're in like F4s. F4s, 105, F105s, and it's like, yo, what the hell happened? Man, life went on, man.
When a helicopter goes, like when they need to land helicopters somewhere raw, they'll send in people to create a landing zone, pathfinders or somebody, and if ideally at least, and if it's anywhere near, it's sketchy, so they'll clear an area for them to land safely because helicopters are
Hmm.
kind of fragile. Are Harriers as fragile, or can they just kind of raw into a parking lot? Because I kind of figure they blow a lot of the stuff away that might bother them.
Yeah, they blow the stuff away. Same thing with helos, though. I mean, as long as you check for overhead wires and stuff like that, helicopters
Just
can land
wires,
on
I
anything.
figure we're more susceptible because like a airplane
Yeah.
dropping on the power line, well, goodbye power line, right? Like airplane don't really
Yep.
care.
But a
But
helicopter, yeah, you're gonna have a whole different problem.
yeah, exactly.
And
But I remember
plus,
it was just like trees and shit. Like trees will bother a helicopter, where I'm guessing a Harrier would just like blow the trees away or not care that a tree is hitting its canopy because what does it care?
totally different effing monster. When a Harrier shows up, it just shoves crap out of the way. Helicopters depend on the size, though, because we had the 53s in the Marine Corps. So this is just a giant ass thing beating air into submission. Um, but they are fragile compared to it. Most people don't know that. Most people think because of the size, this is some unstoppable beast. No, it's very damn stoppable.
That's interesting because I was just listening to the one of the guys from the 160th did another 5 hour, 4 or 5 hour
Hmm.
interview, and
Team House?
no, this one was Mike. I think Mike dropped.
Okay. Uh huh.
And it was interesting because Mike's been in the back of the guy, and this is a guy that's been on a whole bunch of the things that happened over in the global war on terror. It's been for like 17 years or something. But hardcore and everything. This guy did some crazy shit with his bird that you know they get their reputation from that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
Hueys in Vietnam were another level. I mean, everything we've ever seen cool in a movie is because of what the Nam helicopter pilots were doing, right? Like,
Oh my God.
they know exactly where their airplane is or where their helicopter is. But anyway, I was off on a tangent.
Well,
but
it's nerd stuff. It's nerd stuff we're talking about because that's the pathway we went down. But yeah, you have to give shout outs to those dudes because Vietnam era guys, many of them went through programs, so they still could be 19, 20-year-old chief warrant officers and went through flight school.
Did I talk about that tank commander already? The interview with the tank commander? I think that was on Combat Story. A Vietnam tank commander. It's like a 2-hour interview, so it's not a super long one. But the level of casual fucking hard nuts that these guys have from Vietnam is fairly evident in listening to that guy like just casually talk about horrible shit and just they just didn't give a shit. They just got stuff done. And just interesting. Okay, well, with that, we'll wrap it up. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Let's wrap it up, baby.
On the podcast. Thanks for listening. Leave us a thumb up or whatever. You've got quite a few podcasts and a diversity shoot and train and learn. So we'll wrap it up, but you take the rest of the time here. Let us know about those 3 things.
All right. Second is for Everyone podcast had some weirdness happen with the app that I'm using. So I'm going to have to record on the way to Train and Learn, my latest. And I have an interview with Kevin Dixie from last year's Train and Learn that I'm going to air this year. So that's what's going on. So second for 2A4E podcast on your favorite podcast app, or the Second is for Everyone podcast. I don't know how it's written up. You can listen to that. Also, I'm on I'm on the Firearms Radio Network on the Gun and Gear Review podcast every Tuesday. You can listen to us on that. Again, favorite podcast app. And I'm with the Self-Defense Radio Network, Self-Defense Gun Stories. That's an amazing podcast that I really enjoy. 4 different stories every episode of civilian armed self-defense. Each episode has a different defensive firearms instructor. I'm just one of them. I think we have a stable of 7. Very enjoyable show. It's really worth listening to and turning your friends on to, only because it clears up that you never know what your self-defense incident will look like. So those are the 3 podcasts I'm on regularly. I just was interviewed by John Patton on the Gun Collective podcast, so you can watch that on YouTube. What else? Second is for Everyone diversity shoots. I'm hosting them. My next one is June 6th at Gun for Hire Range in Woodland Park. Go to diversityshoots.com and you can click on the link to Eventbrite and go directly and buy your tickets there. So, and I'm going to be a Train and Learn. So if you want to donate to us, we have various links on Eventbrite that you can actually donate to us. You want to see what I'm doing on social media? Second for Everyone, 2ND4, the number 4, everyone on Twitter. Simon Says Train on Instagram. Simon Says Train on Facebook. Also, Tony Simon on Facebook, and the second is for Everyone on Facebook. So I think those are all the ways you could reach me, and all the things besides this show that I gave you information that I'm on a regular basis. So please follow, listen, and donate if you can. And how's this? Here's some part about being an activist that you can do without costing you any money. Repost to your social media work that groups you respect are doing. Just get that into your social circle so people can see them, because they might not even know about groups that you respect. And it's a good idea to let them know so they can support them or at least be aware of them. Thank you.
This is Earl Benson reporting from downtown Topeka, where Gizzard Gary is rampaging through the city. Authorities have asked the public to stay indoors. They believe he will tire soon and need a nap. Gizzard Gary can normally be seen on Foul Territory Friday nights at 7 p.m. Central, Wednesday 8 p.m. for the channel members chat. Stay safe and give him the bird. Earl Benson signing off.
Gear
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.